You don't know what you're talking about. You're not even out dating. Like, that's
I do. You don't know what you're talking about. You're not even out dating. You don't even know what you're talking about because you're out here single. Shut the f up. That does not happen. That does not happen. Like, shut the f up. You just made that up. I swear to God, you just made that up. Wow, Pearl. You are the nuttiest person on the net. You know what I'm saying? Drop a like, leave a comment, let me know you're in here. We finna have fun tonight. This one might be a little long, so I'm not finna try to like hold off too long and take up too much of y'all time. But let me give y'all the brief introduction because I'm gonna skip past it. I saw these clips going around of our favorite person in the world, Pearl Davis. And she's debating a traditional conservative Catholic guy named Trent Horn. I've seen him debate like abortion debates, and you know he's an advocate for marriage and Catholicism or Christian. He's Christian. I'm sorry, I don't know if he's Catholic per se, but he's Christian. So he goes around. He talks about Christian values, traditional marriages, against abortion, stuff like that. All that. Let the record show I don't agree with either of these people on most, if not all, their worldviews. But when I say Pearl made a goddamn fool of herself from what I saw, I just can't even begin to fathom how she has a fan base or how anybody can listen to her and take her serious. She's either A, crazy, or B, a straight up grifter, because there's no way you can believe the stuff that she says. Like nothing that comes out of her mouth has any rationale or logic behind it. So I'm just like baffled at how this person got 2 million people that actually sub to her and like listen to her. So I ain't gonna take too much time. Let's get right into the fuckery. All right. Whew. Y'all, this is finna be a doozy. I swear to God. Wrong fucking button.
All right. So marriage today is a bad deal.
So this is their opening statements as to why marriage. Sorry, I didn't say what this debate is about. This is their opening statements to why marriage is a bad deal for men. I guess that's what they're debating. Why marriage is bad for men.
For men, meaning that it is more likely to not work out than it is to work out. 51% of those that sign up for marriage are not in a better place. Out of 100 men, at least
I gotta hold on. I forgot to do something.
50 are not getting a good deal, essentially. I would like to clarify that I am not talking about some religious sect. I am talking about average Americans. On top of that, there's a huge legal risk you are facing as a man. Again, I am not here to discuss the religiosity of marriage, but I'm here to talk about the outcomes of marriage in 2024, as well as the legal ramifications for getting married. I've interviewed over 1,000 women and men on marriage and relationships, and have been putting together a documentary on family court, and have found that most men have no idea what they are signing up for when they get married. Marriage is objectively a bad deal for men in 2024. What I would consider a bad deal is where the risk outweighs the reward. What I would consider a successful marriage is an obedient wife and staying together for a lifetime. To put it simply, men want sex, silence, and sandwiches from a woman they are attracted to. Unfortunately, women are not offering that in 2024. Women have zero interest in being wives. Gen Z women rank men 7th.
I'm letting her get this off just so you can hear all the fuckery at one time, because once they start going back and forth, we gonna really delve into the stupid shit she's saying. So I'm gonna just let her get her shit off just a little bit. Just a little bit.
On their priority list, coming behind things like education, travel, and experiences. Millennial women are not much better. They rank men as 4th behind their careers, education, and finances. I personally have interviewed over 1,000 women from London to Miami to Vegas and even the suburbs of Chicago. And I can tell you firsthand that most young women have no interest in being wives. This can be shown by women's outcomes and choices. Many men, like Trent, have been married for years and have no idea what the dating market is like for young people. 1 out of 3 women have had an abortion in the United States. 1 out of 4 women has an STD. 90% of women have been on birth control at some point in their life. 80% of sexually active women will contract HPV at some point in their lifetime. The average woman is 5'3" and 170 pounds. On top of that, men can never really know the sexual past of the woman they are marrying. Dating apps have made promiscuity more accessible and easier to hide. Women have a great incentive live to lie about their sexual past. The CDC reports that the average number of sexual partners for a woman is between 4 and 8. But I can tell you from interviews that I have done that below 10 is...
She doesn't know that statistically men and women can, on average, only have the same amount of sexual partners. She doesn't understand numbers. You can't, because they do it with each other, that number is always going to be the same for men and women. Now, individual people are going to have different experiences, of course, but that number can only be the same for men and women because we have sex with each other. So the average is going to be the same between men and women.
Considered low nowadays. This is especially crazy considering once a woman has over 5 sexual partners, she is less likely to have a stable marriage.
And also, once you get past like 10, your odds of a stable marriage go up. So if you have more than sex than 5, then statistically, you might as well go past 10 because you're going to have a better chance. What's good with you, Rager, my boy?
After women have had over 10 sexual partners, the chance of a happy marriage drops to merely 14%. Only 3% of women report waiting for marriage for a religious reason. A quarter of women have a mental illness. Over half of women...
Why is she just rattling off things that plague women as if that's like why men shouldn't marry them? That's crazy. Half of what'd she say? 1/4 of women have mental illness?
For marriage for a religious reason. A quarter of women have a mental illness.
A quarter of women have mental illness. That could be something as bad as schizophrenia to something as minor as like mild depression. Like, what are you talking about? So that's the reason to not. She just rattling off numbers like, yeah, this is why marriage is bad.
Over half of women between the ages of 18 to 29 have at least one tattoo. The average woman...
When have men collectively said women can't have tattoos? You're just saying all right, I'm sorry.
Has at least $26,000 worth of debt. And on top of that, young women are officially...
Men have more debt on average.
Out cheating and out drinking men. That makes marrying a woman today a higher risk than times of the past. But let's look at marriage. What benefits are given to men in marriage? 100 years ago, men would have gotten a debt-free virgin who gave him 4+ children and was expected to obey him. Unfortunately, now modern marriage is simply whore management. The majority of women are not known to be obedient wives. How do we know this? From one, we have phrases like, it's cheaper to keep her and happy wife, happy life. If women were so obedient and good wives, why are all of the phrases focused on bending to the will of the woman? On top of that, we can look at women's choices during marriage. Some common problems that I have found is that women gain a significant amount of weight in marriage. On average, women gain 24 pounds within the first 5 years of marriage. It would be one thing...
What if she looks good with that weight? What if she looks good with that weight? What if she was very skinny and gained 25 pounds, now she thick? Like, what are we talking about?
If women were giving men 4+ children like they were 100 years ago, but on average, women give men 1 to 2 children. The other issue we have is
people in general are having less kids because the economy it's not attractive to have kids with today's economy. Can you even blame people? It's not a good proposition.
Sexless marriages.
Especially a lot of them.
We look at the boomer generation, a third of them are in sexless marriages. How many men have reported that...
And why? Boomers are becoming senior citizens. What do you expect? You think they finna be fucking like rabbits?
Women stop sleeping with them after they have children. How many men would sign up for marriage if they knew that they no longer would have sex? Their wives would no longer have sex with them.
That's not everybody's story, you dumbass.
Now, while this is not the majority of those marriages, that is still not insignificant.
So why are you talking
Men are
about
not
it
even
is
guaranteed an in-shape wife who sleeps with them. Now let's talk about the legal ramifications of marriage and family for men. I do not say this with a happy heart, but there is simply no legal way to stop a woman who wants to divorce you from doing so. My logic is quite simple. When you pay people to do the wrong thing, more people will do it.
That's the irony. My logic is quite simple. Facts. The realest thing she said thus far.
Seemingly good people. Unfortunately, men, the divorce system heavily benefits women, and the stats reflect that. Women file for divorce 70% of the time, and 73% of the time, the reason given is irreconcilable differences. This does not make sense considering people date on average 3 years before marriage. What difference?
She just sounds like somebody that's never, ever been in a meaningful relationship. Like, she just said, on average, people date for 3 years before they get married. Therefore, how can you divorce due to irreconcilable differences? Pearl, get married first. Ask people that has been married for a long time why that can happen. It ain't because women just can leave.
Did you not notice in those 3 years?
A lot. You cannot notice a lot in 3 years. 3 years is not that much time. For somebody that's like in their fucking mid to late 20s, people change a lot. I'm 33. I am not the same person I was when I was 26. So therefore, a lot can change, bro.
This makes sense considering the rising body counts and how promiscuous women are going into marriage. This is not only devastating to men, but also deadly. Men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide following a divorce. Wow. Child support is tied to Social Security and Title 4D. And if you cannot pay, the government can take away your money directly from your bank account, ruin your credit score, take away even your fish.
Notice she's only talking about all of the worst things that come out of divorce. She's not talking about what's bad about marriage. She's talking about what's bad about divorce. That is 2 totally separate conversations.
License, take money directly from your paycheck, and even throw you in jail. The best interest of the child is a principle to ensure government policies safeguard the rights and holistic needs of children. It is standard used in family law to make decisions impacting a child in matters of adoption, child custody, guardianship, and visitation. This principle means that any situation should be looked at from the child's point of view. This sounds nice in theory, but this law is weaponized against men all across this country. This means the best interest of the child, even in cases where you are lied to about paternity. For example, in California, if you were on the child's birth certificate after the age of 2 and you were lied to about paternity, you are on the hook for child support for 16 years. There are many ways that women weaponize the family court in order to drain resources from men, but I'm going to list a couple I have seen. I have seen temporary restraining orders set to separate fathers from children. Men can be kicked out of the house they pay for on a moment's notice with a restraining order. And that
again, all of this is just about divorce. She's not talking about marriage. Like, fucking idiot.
Time period between her filing it and going to court, the mother can put the father on child support because technically she is spending more time with the children. What is not considered is that the woman spent more time with the kids because she had not been letting the dad see them due to the restraining order. This is not illegal for women to do, and there is no punishment. I interviewed one man in London who had spent over $100,000 fighting for his children and still had not seen them in 2 years. I interviewed another man whose wife tried to transition his kid without his permission. I interviewed another man who, I interviewed another man.
Talk about all these. She's literally is selection bias. She goes out and finds people with the what's good, Creed, what's good, appreciate you. She goes out and finds the people that have been in the worst situations you can think of and then uses them as a fucking me. Damn, Creed, that's crazy. They gave you Psylocke. That's what I was saying. I ain't seen her yet. She goes around, finds the worst case scenarios, and then presents them as if this is the experience that everybody's dealt with. Shit is crazy.
Man whose wife was trying to transition his kid without his permission. It took him 3 years and over $50,000 to get custody. Imagine if he did not have the money. Many men go into bankruptcy trying to fight for their children. A case I covered in the state of Chicago, a father had paid over $1 million to his ex-wife during a divorce and was still thrown in jail because he could not keep up with his $10,000 a month payment. The child support payment is calculated.
Is she talking about the breakdancing guy? It sounds like she's talking about the breakdance.
Because he could not keep up with his $10 million to his ex.
You remember, Fish, you ain't gonna never forget her after this. If you stick around long enough, this woman says some of the craziest shit you probably will ever hear in your life. Yeah, I know. I like literally it's never been this fun to dislike somebody. Like it's baffling. I just can't. It's either she's like I said earlier, she's either out of her fucking mind, or she's a grifter that doesn't believe anything that she says, and she's only doing it to be a pick-me to make money.
Ex-wife during a divorce and was still thrown in jail because he could not keep up with his $10,000 a month payment. The child support payment is calculated by current earnings. So if a man loses his job, which many do due to the stress of divorce.
What do you think women get after divorce? You think they're just happy? What are you talking about? And if a man could pay $1 million out of the divorce and $10,000 a month, he probably had it. And I'm sure he doesn't just lose his job because he got divorced. If that's the case, what you think the women going through? Sometimes they're not working, and if they are working, they was probably making less than the husband. So what the fuck are you talking about? That doesn't go one way, you fucking jackass.
Is still on the hook for child support even if he cannot afford the money. Child support is given based on the amount of time that children get with their that dads are given with the
this
children,
woman is
and that women have incentive to not give men access to their children and are rewarded for doing so.
There's
Many
no
men
incentive.
in this
There's no incentive to that. They gain nothing. They lose time out of their life because they got to watch the kids full time.
process find themselves homeless because they cannot keep up with child support payments. The loss of a child is one of
So every man that can't keep up with child support ends up homeless. Come on,
the
bro.
leading indicators of mental illness. Many men that I have interviewed have compared this to death. Losing a child is, they would rather
Interview some men in happy marriages. Get both sides. But you can't do that because it ruins your narrative.
die than live a life without their children. And the stats show that many men pick death over this reality. Another thing that most do not know is that family court is not based on evidence. It's based on a balance of probabilities rather than beyond a reasonable doubt. This means it is easier to allege that a man abused you in family court without evidence. Mainstream cases like Amber Heard and Johnny Depp show just how easy it is for women to ruin a man's reputation with no evidence. Many times the women are actually given free resources from domestic abuse centers in order to assist women in this. In many areas, the courts have alleged that the definition of abuse has changed in the last 50 years to include things like emotional abuse, financial abuse, and have also changed the definition of rape from forced sex to sex without consent. The problem you get when you change these definitions to be more broad is that women are allowed to say things like yelling is abuse and he did not let me spend $5,000 on my credit card, therefore he is abusive. I have seen cases where men were accused.
Shut the fuck up. That does not happen. That does not happen. Like, shut the fuck up. You just made that up. I swear to God, you just made that up. Nobody does that. Nobody has said that. He abuses me because he doesn't let me use his credit card. Get the fuck out of here.
Accused of raping a woman the first time they hooked up, and they were married 10 years after. Women weaponize this against men. The problem you get with these definitions that are more broad, that women are allowed to abuse the system. As I said before, losing a child is like death to a lot of men. One area that we studied was veteran suicide. 44 veterans a day commit suicide, and over 400,000
not
men.
A thing. Like, and if it is, that's somebody that nobody pays attention to. Is just we would just consider them crazy and keep it moving. Nobody and ever would say that.
Have died due to suicide in the last 25 years. To put it into perspective, since the Revolutionary War, 650,000 have died in battle. In 25 years, we have hit 2/3 of that. Terrence Popp has worked with veterans for 15 years, and through our personal research, have found that 70% of veteran suicides have come in contact with family court in the last 5 years. Family court is literally killing men every day, and nobody is talking about it.
So veterans aren't having struggles because of mental illness, probably from active duty. You're attributing it to getting divorced in family court. Notice she had to pick out veterans because they're the most likely to deal with mental issues already. She didn't just say men in general. Like,
on top of that, fathers have to watch their mothers raise children in a way that sets up their children for failure. Single mother homes account for 63% of youth suicides, 90% of the homeless and runaways, and the majority of school shooters, where single father homes fare similar to two parents homes. I personally have interviewed men.
The thing, like I said, I think I said this last time, the thing about that is it's just such a small number of single father households that it's hard to even quantify how they fare up against single mother households. Like, it's not enough of them to even get a good idea of what the outcomes really, really mean.
Who had to watch a mother try to transition their kid. And I had one case where a mother's new boyfriend had accusations of being a pedophile, and there was nothing the man could do. Let's go over this again. The upside is that men get a woman who has slept with at least 4 other men, and
more people in here than it is likes, man. Get the likes up, man.
maybe 2 children out of the deal. On average, the woman will be 170 pounds and 5'3". Odds are she at least likely has 1 tattoo, some debt, and maybe even a previous child in tow. The downside is you can lose half your assets, your children, your reputation, homelessness, and you can be put on child support, alimony, and even thrown in jail. Personally, I would never sign a business deal that encourages that kind of risk. But for whatever reason, men are encouraged to sign a business deal that does.
Okay. You literally...
Terrible summation of what's bad for marriage with men. What's bad for men in marriage.
You finished with 1 second to spare. You crushed that. Well done.
Thank you.
For someone who's not used to time debates, you did really well. Okay. Trent, whenever you're ready.
And I'm happy now that this is like a formal debate where you get time to do what you need to do, because any other time when Pearl talks to people, she cuts them off like fucking crazy. never let nobody complete a thought and throws in a bunch of bullshit that you got to try to respond to because it's just too much nonsense.
I'll click the 10-minute
And
mark.
imagine trying to combat that.
All right. Well, Pearl has the burden of showing that marriage is a bad deal for men, and all I have to do is show that she hasn't made her case. And notice in Pearl's opening statement, she never cites a study of married men in general to see whether they think marriage is a bad deal. So to show that she's wrong, I'm going to point out 3 fallacies that Pearl makes in her arguments. So first, there's the wrong target fallacy. For example, Pearl talks about how marriage is a bad deal because men are sometimes mistreated in child custody cases. That's not unique to marriage.
Right.
If you cohabit or even just hook up with a woman, you can still father a child and deal with custody issues. However, marriage makes a man the presumed father of the child with natural rights unmarried fathers don't have, even though unmarried fathers can still be liable to pay child support. The children of unmarried men are 10 times more likely to be aborted. And if the child does survive the pregnancy, he's 3 to 6 times more likely to live in poverty. The hazards of unmarried, much less for married men. Another wrong target is women themselves. Pearl says marriage is bad for men because modern women are worse than previous generations of women. But that says nothing about marriage. If modern women are good enough for hookups that can result in children, or cohabiting relationships that superficially feel like marriage, but are far more likely to fail, then modern women are good enough for marriage, which has less harms for men. And Pearl can't use these stats to dunk on women because men are also worse than previous generations. Modern men are just as promiscuous and are even more overweight than modern women. A 2019 Experian study found that men carry more credit, auto, and mortgage debt than women. Millennial and Gen Z men have weaker grip strength.
Notice that he's going to cite all this stuff that she ignores, and she's not going to have anything to refute it besides anecdotes and her misrepresentation of his stats.
And make less money than older men did at their age. Pearl has not shown that women are not good enough for men. Instead, the data shows men and women are both in bad shape compared to previous generations. But there's hope. Marriage is the best way for men and women to mature together and bring out the best in one another. Second, there's the anecdote fallacy. One sad story about a marriage does not show marriage itself is bad,
right?
Because for every sad story Pearl can bring up, I can statistically bring up 2 to 3 good stories about happy marriages. Right. And there are many stories about sad, sick, lonely men who never marry. Pearl cannot prove her case with anecdotes. She needs actual data that proves married men are worse off than unmarried men. But no such data exists. Even marriage skeptics will only argue at best that marriage doesn't increase happiness. They all agree that men who marry are better off concerning health, wealth, and happiness than men who never marry. If Pearl can't provide peer-reviewed data to prove otherwise, then her case fails. Third, there's the comparison fallacy. Instead of stories involving the risks of marriage, Pearl often at times just points to the risks of marriage itself and says that's a good enough reason to not marry. She says, just as you wouldn't fly on a plane that has a 5% chance of crashing, you shouldn't get married, even if it has similar low odds of divorcing. But if you look at the worst outcomes of one choice while ignoring the worst outcomes of another choice, that's the comparison fallacy. It's like someone who thinks driving is safer than flying because they only read a bunch of stories about plane crashes and never think about car
That's exactly
crashes.
How she sounds.
Of course, flying is far safer than driving, and marriage is less risky than non-marriage. You cannot compare the best outcomes of non-marriage to the worst outcomes of marriage. To be fair, you must compare the typical outcomes in both cases, be it flying versus driving or marriage versus non-marriage. And Pearl exaggerates the harms of marriage and ignores the harms of not marrying. For example, according to the National Center for Family and Marriage Research, the median length of all marriages is not 7 to 8 years, as Pearl often claims. That's the length of marriages that end in divorce, not all marriages. The median length for all marriages is 21 years. And the divorce rate is closer to 35%, not 50%.
Yeah.
50% was a future projection from
What was you saying, to? What was you saying, to? And yeah, I agree with a lot of what I don't agree with everything in his worldview, period, but in this conversation, he was making great points.
From the 80s that has since been falsified. In fact, we are now seeing the lowest divorce rates since 1970, about 14 divorces per 1,000 married women. For weekly churchgoers, the divorce rate is half the average rate. Also, just because 35% of marriages end in divorce, that doesn't mean you have a 1 in 3 chance of absolute misery. Divorce sucks, but people typically survive it intact. In fact, men do better than women after divorce.
Right.
Men's income
saying,
increases by 20% on average, while women are twice as likely to fall into poverty after divorce.
And she will never address that. She always say, this women get paid to leave, but she'll never address the fact that women fare worse off after divorce than men.
Alimony is only paid out in less than 10% of divorces. And according to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average child support payment is $441 a month, of which only 60% usually ends up getting paid. Moreover, women do not get child custody 90% of the time, as others claim. 95% of custody cases are mutually agreed upon outside of the courtroom. Right. Women get full custody 40% of the time, men get full custody 20%, and shared custody makes up the remaining 40%. Women usually get full custody because men don't ask for it. In a Massachusetts study of 24,000 divorces, only
exactly.
8%.
That's exactly the thing. And she ignores it. She just doesn't acknowledge the fact that men usually make more. And even if the wife does work, she usually makes less. And she never addresses that. She just says it. And then it's like, well, that's what it is. Women are paid to leave. She says, she frames it like that. They're paid to leave. You're not paid to leave. You're paid because you made less money, you foregone work, or you made less money, and the child is still that other parent's responsibility. If you have the child, the other parent pays. That's not just a woman thing. If the man has full custody or partial or full custody and she makes more and he keeps the kid, then she's going to have to pay him. What the fuck? Yeah. Yeah, usually when you demand a bunch of money, you usually don't deserve it because more often than not, people sign prenups. People don't really sign prenups if both of y'all go into the marriage not having many assets. When people get married and they have a lot of money, they do prenups and all that shit is predetermined before they even set foot in that courtroom. So all that shit she be saying, she ignores all that nuance and just says women get paid to leave. That shit is crazy.
Percent of men sought custody, and 94% of them got full or partial custody. Finally, a 2006 study in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health showed that while divorced men were 27% more likely to die prematurely, 58% of never married men were more likely to die early. Never married men risk growing older and having few or no social connections. Pearl can tell lots of horror stories, apparently, about men going through messy divorces. And my wife, who is a registered nurse, can tell you all kinds of horror stories about men dying alone in the hospital, spending every day by themselves, staring at the same blotch on the ceiling because they had no one to ever come and visit them. Now, some men desire marriage and are unable to find a wife, which is tragic. But rejecting marriage out of fear is like the person who refuses to go to the hospital because he worries about medical errors, but doesn't think about people dying at home from easily treatable illnesses. Ooh. The comparison fallacy once again. Yeah. That's probably why 65% of divorced men get remarried. 93% of men say they would marry their spouse again if they could do marriage over. If Pearl is right, as she said in the past, that marriage is a death sentence for men, then why do most men voluntarily go back to death row after they've been released, i.e. divorced? Well, it's because these men correctly identify what Pearl has failed to grasp. Marriage is not bad for men. It's not a bad deal for men. In fact, marriage is typically a good deal for men. It's no wonder God told Adam in the book of Genesis, it's not good for man to be alone, and so he made Eve to remedy this problem. Now, to make it clear, it is a lie that half of all marriages end in divorce. The truth is that most marriages last a lifetime, and 80 to 90% of them identify as happy. A Gallup survey conducted between 2008 and 2020 of 800,000 adults showed that married people rate their well-being 12 to 17 points higher than unmarried people. The General Social Survey from the University of Chicago, a gold standard in sociological research, shows that married men are twice as likely to rate their lives as very happy when compared to non-married men. And the majority of married men, in fact, I'd say 80% of them, identify themselves as happy. Married men also make 10 to 20% more money per hour, and they have more sex than never married men. Pearl says that men face sexless marriages, but the general social survey shows that unmarried men are twice as likely to have a sexless life than a married man.
Which
studies also
sense,
show that even
especially
men
at
who
an
end up
older age.
divorced live longer,
That
are
makes sense.
economically better off, and are just as or even happier than never married men. Now, Pearl might say these studies only prove that happier, richer men get married, and unhappy, poor men don't get married. But when you look at the typical married man, he is not a 6'2" rich Chad. Moreover, if a man chooses to marry, then he needs to become marriageable, which involves developing positive traits that both make him desirable to women and improve his own self-esteem at the same time. But I'm not arguing that marriage makes people happy. I'm arguing against Pearl's claim that marriage is a bad deal for men and steals their happiness. That's just not true. In fact,
didn't say
marriage
it
is the
steals
best.
their
You
happiness.
can't interrupt when
Why
I'm
are
talking.
you
You get a 5
talking?
minute after this. He's got 1 minute.
Oh,
The
sorry.
man literally did not say
There'll
a
be time.
word
I'm
when she
excited for
said
that.
all that bullshit.
In fact, marriage is the best
She
way for
just
men
tried
to
the
not
fuck
just
out of
hang
that.
on to happiness, but to
I
increase
didn't
it.
say that.
The Harvard study of adult development,
Girl, bye.
which tracked people
Clear
for
that up
80
after the
years,
fact.
said good
even
relationships
control
were the
herself.
#1 predictor of happiness. And it showed that men who married ended up happier and lived 7 to 17 years longer than men who never married. And that's a study for people over 80 years of their life. When I was unmarried, let me actually go through here. Well, yeah, when I was unmarried, I thought that having 2 folding chairs and a TV on the ground were appropriate living room furniture. But when
me,
you're married,
we
your
all
wife shows you
did.
something better. And she roots for
me.
you. A 2013 Harvard study showed that married men are less likely to get cancer, and married men are even more likely to survive cancer, showing that marriage is a good deal for men. So finally, I'd be remiss to point out neither men nor women invented marriage. God invented marriage. He gave it to the human race. Christ raised it to the level of a sacrament. And Pearl would have to give overwhelming data to show that something that God gave us
Which
is
she can't.
actually a bad deal for men. And she won't be able to do that because
Exactly.
the data doesn't support that. Indeed, for most men, marriage is the primary engine that helps them live a long, healthy, and happy life.
This time. All right. Good job, Trent. You have a
Perfect
5-minute
timing.
rebuttal, Pearl, whenever you're ready.
Wait, so how does do I ask him questions
No,
during the rebuttal?
that'll be after the break. This is basically your time. 5 minutes. He won't be able to interrupt you. You can try to refute the case he just made.
Got it. Okay.
So, and would it help you if you saw the time?
Yeah, sure.
Do you mind putting that there? Just
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, that's his phone. But whenever you're ready.
All right. Hopefully this part is a little bit more entertaining since they both had
second.
monologues. Hopefully this part is a little better, you know?
One thing I noticed in your
Okay,
arguments
starting.
is that you constantly attribute all of the positive things that happen in marriage. You just automatically attribute them to women.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He never said because. He never once said anything because of women. He just kept saying marriage. Men live longer in marriage. Men make more money in marriage. He never said it's because of the woman. What the fuck where did you get that from? You just made that up.
You automatically attribute them to that marriage is the cause. I would disagree with that. I would say it's a bad deal because at the end of the day, women are paid to leave.
She's not addressing any of his points. This is her time to rebuttal all the points he made, and all she's redoing is reiterating her talking points. I would say it's because marriage is a bad deal. What about everything he fucking said, dumbass?
You never addressed any solutions that you have. What solutions does the church have?
What do you mean solutions? What he's saying why marriage isn't a bad deal. Why are you talking about solutions? You need solutions because you're the one that's doom and gloom about it.
Women don't want to be married. Men cannot make women marry that do not want to be married. Women are getting STDs. Women are getting abortions.
You look at her face. She doesn't even know what to say because she knows nothing she's saying makes sense. She knows that every word coming out of her mouth makes absolutely no sense. So she's just blurting out random facts and talking points that she just sticks to because she thinks they sound good, but she can't back them up with anything.
The majority of women today are not marriageable. They're overweight.
She can't even create analogies or hypotheticals to prove her point. She just keeps saying that women don't want to be married. They're overweight. What the fuck? What are you talking about?
They're out of shape. And, saying that marriage is good isn't going to change that, isn't going to make women want to be wives.
This is pathetic.
The next thing that I noticed that you said was that unmarried men are more likely to have a sexless life.
Wait,
Obviously.
Wait, did she say that
To
right?
have that you said was that unmarried men are more likely
have a sex
to have a sexless life. Obviously. Obviously. Men that cannot attract women obviously are not.
But you talking about, you say married men that end up in sexless marriages. So what's the alternative?
Duh. And you never address that men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after marriage.
Obviously, that's in comparison to women. Not just cause. 9 times more likely than what? Because you're not saying that part on purpose. We not stupid, bro. Hey, Pearl, we're not slow.
Even if it's a 5%, 1 out of 50.
See,
even
just
if it's
numbers. You just keep saying
1 out of
shit.
50 chance or 1 out of 100 chance that you commit suicide, that's negligence. Any car would be recalled if 1% of people died. I just think at the end of the day that I would never sign a deal that one party is paid to leave. And you're not addressing the lack of quality of women that are on the market today. Men cannot make women want to be wives. And if women don't want to be wives, basically, it's not gonna happen. The other thing is that, if marriage is such a good deal, why aren't men signing up? Good products, technically, they get off the market quickly. Men naturally, they want to do things that make sense. And the issue that you're gonna get is that, again, the quality of women is lower than ever before. The cost of marriage is higher than ever before. And until that changes, until some of the laws change, it is just not a good deal for men.
You still have 2 minutes and 41 seconds if you'd like to keep going.
She
That's okay.
didn't. She had
So
looking
you
like
have a
4 or
5-minute
5
rebuttal.
minutes to
Trent, whenever you want to
rebuttal and
begin.
lost 2
Sure.
minutes out of that shit. Crazy.
Ready?
All right.
Go for it.
Crazy.
All right. So I want to focus on one very clear fact that refutes Pearl's case, that she has not cited any studies looking at men and seeing what do they think. I mean, if marriage is such a bad deal for men,
Right.
we don't need Pearl to tell us that. Why don't we just ask men themselves? Ask married men, were you given a bad deal? Were you given a raw deal? You go online, you go to Amazon, you go to all other kinds of places, you can see people write product reviews and saying whether they got a bad deal out of something. And you should probably trust someone who actually tried the product and wrote a review instead of someone writing reviews about a product they've never tried before. And I've already shown the data that married men identify as being more happier than unmarried men. They live longer, they're healthier. So marriage is a good deal for them. It certainly isn't a bad deal for them. They get many benefits out of that. And Pearl has not refuted that. All she's been reduced to saying is that marriage is a bad deal for men because apparently women aren't worth marrying, which is just not true.
Right.
She's pointing out flaws in women, but she gives a pass to men. It's a kind of reverse form of simping, if you will, because men also fall under this. So let's talk about some of the things that she brought up. About the issues of being sexless, saying that 20% of marriages are sexless. That's only if you include senior citizens in the entire framework. As I said, the General Social Survey shows that unmarried men are twice as likely to be sexless as married men. So if you're a guy and if that's something that is important to you in your life, marriage is the covenant through which sex makes the most sense, you have the most access to it, and it's the safest and best thing for you and for the children that will proceed from your union.
Right.
She made a big deal about weight. Women are overweight. Women gain 20 pounds in marriage. She's probably referring to the Gordon Larson 2009 study on that. But that same study showed that married men gain 30 pounds over the same period. Unmarried cohabiting women gain 18 pounds during that period, and single women gain 15 pounds during that
So everybody
during
gains
that period.
weight during a relationship.
So all that proves is as we get older, instead of growing up, we tend to grow out. That's just life. And it's nice as you get married to have someone else to grow up and out with you. And mature people recognize that and don't just reject marriage because of a biological fact of reality. Women don't want to be wives. There's no evidence Pearl gave to support that conclusion. At least I can look at anecdotally. Think about it in your own life. How many times have you heard a girl lament that her boyfriend, she'd love to get married, but her boyfriend doesn't want to get married, or he's dragging his feet. How
Why
many
would he
times
not?
you can't interrupt him until the time is over. How many times have you heard a guy say, "Oh, I really wish I could get married, but my girlfriend's just dragging her feet"? Women are the ones, women control access, put it crudely, women control access to sex and men control access to marriage. That's how it's worked traditionally, and it still works today. Pearl asked, if marriage is such a good deal, why aren't men and women signing up for it? Well, that's like asking, if exercise is good for you, why don't more people go to the gym? Why is the gym usually empty? It's because marriage is hard. You have to say no to a lot of things as a man if you choose to get married. You have to say no to things your little lizard brain tells you are good, like trying to hook up with as many women as possible. So people probably don't sign up for it because they don't.
He's spitting. He's spitting. That was a good analogy. Notice Pearl can't come up with one to further expound upon her point.
Realize the benefits, and they listen to the lower part of the brain instead of the rational part of the brain that could read studies covering hundreds of thousands of men showing that they're happier, live longer, and have more sustaining, fulfilled lives than being unmarried. So some of the things that, when Pearl brings up, that divorced men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide, she's probably referring to the Kipaosa 2003 study. It's not that's not men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide who are divorced. They're 9 times more divorced men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide than divorced women.
See,
but that's only because men are just more
I knew it because I'm like, you talking about 9 times more likely, 9 times more likely than what? You didn't say what the other end of that study was, or the statistic. You didn't say, the men are 9 times more likely to commit suicide after marriage. Then what? 9 times more likely than who? I knew it had to be in comparison. Obviously, they're more likely to commit suicide more than women. Obviously. Men all commit suicide more than women, period.
Likely to complete suicide anyways than women. They tend to choose more violent means to do it. So, but when you look at the data, never married men are still just as, if not more likely to commit suicide than divorced men. So that's the comparison fallacy once again. You talk about all of the risks related to marriage, and there are risks, but there are greater risks to being not married. So that shows.
Notice he acknowledges that there are risks in marriage. Notice that he acknowledges that, and Pearl will almost always deny the good things about marriage and what comes with it. Like, even simply saying you're more likely to live longer being married says a lot. And she's like, that's no benefit for men. That's the biggest benefit there is. You get to stay alive longer. What the hell?
Marriage is not a bad deal. And as I said before, if marriage is such a bad deal for men, if it's so bad, why do 93% of men say they're willing to remarry their wives again if they had the chance? Why do 65% of divorced men choose and go and get remarried? It's because they recognize maybe someone wasn't right for them.
That speaks volumes, and I bet you she won't address it either. With the fact that men will remarry after divorce. 65% of men remarry after divorce. Now let's see if she acknowledges that whatsoever.
But marriage was still right for them.
All right. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to have cross-examination. And Pearl, you'll have 20 minutes to drill Trent with questions, follow up whatever you want to follow up on, and then Trent, you'll have for 20 minutes. So if you're watching right now, please stick around.
Yeah, I gotta watch these people's ads because I'm using their content. So please forgive me.
Let us know how you think this debate is going
It's only
in
right.
the live chat, and we'll be right back.
To watch
I want to tell
ads
you about a
if I'm
course
using
that
their
I have
content
created for
to
men
make
to
content.
overcome pornography.
Sorry.
It is called strive21.com/Matt. You go there right now, or if you text strive to 66866, we'll send you the link. It's 100% free. And it's a course I've created to help men, to give them the tools to overcome pornography. Usually men know that porn is wrong. They don't need me or you to convince them that it's wrong. What they need is a battle plan to get out. And so I've distilled all that I've learned over the last 15 or so years as I've been talking and writing on this topic into this one course. Think of it as if you and I could have a coffee over the next 21 days and I would kind of guide you along this journey. That's basically what this is. It's incredibly well produced. We had a whole camera crew come and film this. And I think it'll be a real help to you. And it's also not an isolated course that you go through on your own, because literally tens of thousands of men have now gone through this course. And as you go through the different videos, there's comments from men all around the world encouraging each other, offering to be each other's accountability partners and things like that. Strive21, that's strive21.com/Matt, or as I say, text Strive to 66866 to get started today. You won't regret it. I want to tell you about Hallow, which is the number one downloaded prayer app in the world. It's hallow.com/MattFrad. Sign up over there right now and you will get the first 3 months for free. That's like a lot of time. You can decide whether it's useful to you or not, whether it's helpful. If you don't like it, you can always quit. Hallow.com/MattFrad. I use it. My family uses it. It's fantastic. There are over 10,000 audio guided prayers, meditations, and music, including my lo-fi. Hallow has been downloaded over 15 million times in 150 different countries. It helps you pray, helps you meditate, helps you sleep better. It helps you build a daily routine and a habit of prayer. There's honestly so much excellent stuff on this app.
There's more people in here than likes, man. Get the likes up.
Hallow.com/MattFrad. The link is in the description below. It even has an entire section for kids. So if you're a parent, you could play little Bible stories to them at night. It'll help them pray. Fantastic. Hallow.com/MattFrad. Yep. Say when. G'day and welcome back to the debate. Before we jump into cross-examination, I want to invite you to consider becoming a local supporter at mattfrad.locals.com. When you do, you get a ton of free perks in return. I just had an almost 3-hour discussion with Jordan Peterson a couple of days ago. That's available right now over on Locals. Also, when you become an annual supporter, you get our free Pints with Aquinas beer stein. You get a ton of other things in return, but I don't have time to tell you about them. So mattfrad.locals.com, and a massive thanks to those of you who want to keep supporting the channel so we can keep bringing great guests on. Okay, so we are going to go into a time of 20-minute cross-examine, and I'm going to explain what it is for our viewers, okay? So Pearl's going to begin, and in cross-examine, she is free to lead the discussion however she wishes. She is welcome to interrupt Trent, to redirect Trent however she pleases. This is her time, so it's not considered rude if she does that, and vice versa when Trent does that. So, let's see.
Let's get into it.
Whenever you're ready, Pearl, you can begin with your 20 minutes.
1 second.
And if you'd like, I can let you know when you have 3 minutes left or something.
Okay, 1 second. Okay.
No
Why
worries.
Trent got this smug look on his face?
Do you think that women should be
So
obedient to their
smart.
husbands?
Yeah, I think that they should be obedient to their husbands when their husbands give them a rational request or directive. But I think that husbands and wives should lead each other to Christ and to the goodness of their family.
So what do you define as rational?
In accord with reason. So something that doesn't go against what reason would dictate.
Can I have an example?
Right.
Of
So
something,
like I'm assuming crimes. Like,
of something that's rational or irrational.
yeah, irrational.
Yeah, if a husband says
Like
that-
obviously no crimes, right?
yeah, or if a husband says, I want you to lose a massive amount of weight, for example, that would put someone's. If your husband wants you to do something to change your body that would put your health
Man,
at
get
risk,
this
I
camera
would say that's
together. What's
irrational.
happening?
Okay, but a normal amount of weight would be fine.
I would say
Right.
I would say I think it's fine for husbands and wives to want each other to be healthy, but it's very quickly that if a husband or a wife asks for a person to be of a certain weight, that can easily be more of it out of a desire for vanity than for the other person's well-being.
But what about health?
What about health? I think it's
Yeah.
fine. I think it's good for husbands and wives to want each other to be healthy.
No, but I'm asking the husband. Why do you always bring it back to the husband? Because I'm asking about the wife.
Oh
I didn't
my
ask you about the
God.
husband.
Because I'm
So
saying
I'm
Why do you
saying for
always
the
bring it back
husband,
to the
is he
husband?
can
Girl,
he
bye.
ask that his wife stays a certain weight? Is that rational?
it's rational for him to ask her to be healthy, but staying at a
Exactly.
certain weight your entire life.
Exactly. Just say, I want you to be healthy. A specific weight is insane.
That's not necessarily going to be healthy. Like saying, I want you to always be 120 pounds. Like, hey, I got pregnant. Oh, I'm kind of getting past that now. I don't like that. That's
Right. And all he's saying, both people should do this. And all she keeps saying is, no, women. Women do it wrong. Women. That's all she do. And he's sitting there like, they both should be healthy. Like, what the fuck?
that would be irrational.
He would not be allowed to do that under your thought.
I think it would be insane if a man said that his
Right.
wife needs to stay at
Why?
a certain.
Why?
Imagine a woman that's like 47 and be like, yeah, you better not weigh a pound over 120. Like, what the fuck? Or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the fucking weight is relative to her height. Like, you know what I'm saying? Really, that's what it comes down to.
Why? Like, what's wrong with men having standards? What's wrong with that?
Pearl, you do realize that it's absolutely, like, literally there was a joke in The Office where BJ Novak says some supermodels lose weight when they're pregnant. That shows that he's just an insane chauvinistic person. To demand that a wife stay at a certain weight, even though as you get older, you naturally gain weight. And especially when you get pregnant, you gain at least 9 pounds of weight. That would be insane to demand that someone stay at their certain weight.
Women lose it all the time.
I fail to see how any of this is relevant to marriage, by the way.
Exactly.
What I'm trying to understand is your mindset.
It's like Pearl says women shouldn't gain weight in marriage and not even asking if men even give a fuck about that. Obviously, no man wants a wife, if he got her when she was skinny, he wants her to be morbidly obese. And she acts like gaining weight equals bad. Gaining weight does not just mean bad, period.
So why can't men have standards in marriage? Because if you're saying that men can't have standards in their own marriage,
men can't have standards.
Like this,
I don't think there's many men that have a standard of don't gain any weight. I don't think that's a standard for any man.
You're saying it's irrational for a guy to demand his wife stay a certain weight. Why? Why is that wrong?
To stay a certain weight during their entire marriage?
Why? Why is that wrong?
Because
I've seen women do it.
Would you like me to answer the question?
Go ahead.
She don't want him to
Because
answer.
biologically, our bodies change over time. They'll naturally gain and lose weight in different circumstances. And your worth as a spouse, whether you are a husband or a wife, is not derived by your weight. That's just a shallow thing. Now, I think that both husbands and wives should encourage the other should encourage.
It's your job to be attractive.
I think husbands and wives should both maintain attractiveness.
Right, but why do you always have to bring it back? Because
why do you only focus on women?
Right now, because we're asking about the deal for.
She don't know what she's talking about. She literally doesn't make sense with anything that she says. She doesn't know what she's talking about at all. Like it's mind-boggling, dead ass.
For men. Yeah. So I'm looking at this from the man's point of view. What does the man get out of it? Is this a good deal? He can't even ask for an in-shape wife.
He gets a woman who's
Can I
answer the question? Can I answer the question?
I'm asking.
He gets a woman who's promised to stay with him, even though statistically he'll gain 30 or 40 pounds.
And that because
does she have the right?
Women's job has far more of a job to be beautiful than men. You know, men's job is to protect and provide.
So do women
like
have a right
what is wrong with a man asking that she stays a certain weight?
The thing is, at this point of the debate, she can cut him off, and then he's gonna get his turn. So right now, she's getting to I forgot the exact term. It is, but she can cut him off at this part, and it's not rude.
Like what is wrong with a man asking that she stays a certain weight?
Because it's shallow. It's fine to ask.
Oh, for sure, that is a societal expectation. But I think if we're talking about the confines of marriage and what men look for, I don't think men going into marriage be like, you better not ever gain any weight. I don't think now women, yes, they do expect women to be pretty, but this is about the marriage. This ain't about society. You know what I'm saying? Like if a man goes, I don't think there's many men that's saying like you cannot gain weight at all or gain past this amount. You're just gonna want to be healthy, and it's gonna probably be. It don't matter what the number is. It's about what's your health and what do you look like? Am I still attracted to you? Right, and then some women look better with weight on them than actually than the smallest they've ever been as an adult. Like some women actually objectively look much healthier with weight on them than without it.
Ask someone to be healthy, and it's fine to encourage your spouse to maintain attractiveness, not to just let yourself go.
Right.
But that's the same for husbands and wives. Neither should just let themselves go.
Right.
But at the same time, each one should be merciful, knowing that time and age come for all of us.
The reason that the obesity, I've looked that up before. The reason that
and she's finna harp on this like this is the worst thing a man can endure during marriage. That just lets you know how unaware of everything she is, because men do not go into marriage worried about their wife gaining weight. That's not one of the concerns about men making a decision to get married. There's a plethora of things that you think about way before that.
Men are more overweight than women. is because you don't look at visceral fat. So like when men are a very high like muscle percentage, they're still considered overweight more so than women. So a more accurate way to look at that is visceral fat. And women have higher rates of visceral.
Look at the lengths she's going through to make women wrong. Look at the lengths she's going through.
Fat than men. So actually women are more, and if you look at extreme obesity, women are more obese.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I don't know why you're like kind of lying with that stat, trying to act like men are equally obese. They're not.
Well,
They're
men
not.
are still overweight, but that still doesn't
Right, but
still
it
doesn't
goes
show
back to
none of that shows
so
marriage is a
next
bad
question,
deal for
should men
men.
marry women that have had abortions?
Should men marry women
Yes
that
or
have had
no?
abortions?
Should men marry women that have had abortions?
I wouldn't say it's a deal breaker.
Why is she acting like that's something that's the worst thing you could deal with on earth? A woman had an abortion. Can't marry her. What the fuck? What is the relevance of your marriage to that? Hello? What?
Should men marry women with STDs?
I wouldn't say here.
A quarter of women have herpes. Should men marry them?
I'm going to.
See, and now I know, yeah, he was trying to be, like, mind you, he a patient guy. I've seen him debate before. He's extremely patient. And she was pushing him because it's not even that she's cutting him off. It's that she's asking him questions and won't let him answer it. And it's like, damn, I know Korea is bad, but she literally has the right to interrupt him now. But the problem is that she's asking him questions and won't let him say it. So it's kind of like, what's the point of you even asking me anything if you're not even going to let me answer it? That's where his frustration coming from. But I just love how women what she just say 1 in 4 women have herpes. I feel like that's a lot. I feel like she's talking about how many people have been exposed to herpes, because I know most people that are sexually active have been exposed to herpes. I don't think 1 in 4 women are walking around with active cases of herpes complex. I think it's B. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever it is, the one that you get vaginal herpes or whatever. Most people aren't just walking around with that actively on them, but most people that are sexually active have been exposed to herpes, which I feel like is what she's trying to say with that 1 in 4 shit.
To answer,
okay,
I would like to answer your question. I would say just as it is not a disqualifier for if a man facilitated an abortion, and 90% so for every woman who chooses to get an abortion, 90% of the time, the man is actively or passively supporting it. So just as it's not a deal breaker for a woman.
I'm asking for the future.
Oh, you talking about the most common? Yeah. Maybe that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, most people have been exposed to the virus in itself, but 1 in 4 women ain't walking around with herpes on them actively. No, I don't believe that at all. I might have worded that wrong, but yeah, I think we saying the same thing.
Man, I'm not saying this, that he asked her to abort this is another man's kid. She's had an abortion.
No, what I'm saying is I'm applying an equal standard.
Okay,
here.
yeah.
So I would say that it is not a deal breaker for a man to marry a woman who's had an abortion, just like it's not a deal breaker for a woman to marry a man who had facilitated an abortion.
Should men marry women that have slept with over 10 men?
Should they?
Why does that matter too? Yeah. She that's all she does. She just spits off talking points, and she doesn't care. She doesn't care about the nuance of it, or she makes a conclusion drawn from it that makes absolutely no sense. That's what she does. But you said she just men marry women that slept with 10 men. What the fuck does that matter if she's not actively doing it with me? How does that matter? And as a grown adult, why do you even care how many people somebody slept with? What does their behavior tell you? If they ain't had no kids, if they ain't had no STDs, and if they're not actively doing it while I'm dating them, why the fuck do I care about how many people you slept with?
Marry someone who's slept with over 10 men. I would say that when you have more sexual partners, that's definitely that's something that's concerning. That could be a red flag.
So you would say no?
But that doesn't.
And that depends on how old they are and the type of sexual relationships they've had.
Apply. I'm not going to say that someone is unmarried.
Like, doing porn is different than casually dating, and you're 45, but you slept with over 10 men at the age of 45 from dating them. That's not the same as somebody that does porn. You get what I'm saying? Or a girl that's 18 and slept with fucking 35 men at the age of 18. then that's probably a problem. It's something that's concerning. But if she did that at 18 and I met her at 40 and she's changed her life, why the fuck do I care about what she did when she was young? Why would I care if she's not that type of person anymore? Now you're gonna argue that she's probably lying. Now you can't believe all women, like, well, not believe all women like that, but y'all know what I mean by believe women in this scenario.
Of one particular trait.
What about porn?
Okay, what
about
porn?
women that have participated in porn? Should men marry women that have participated?
There's more women that's married that did porn than you will ever get in proposals ever. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. You're not doing porn and nobody wants to marry you. So what the fuck?
In porn.
I would say that that's definitely a red flag, but it is not it's not a deal breaker.
Do you have a son?
Can I answer the questions, Pearl? Because you can keep asking questions and I'll never answer them.
Because it just would be easier if I got a yes or no, because you keep giving me these roundabout and I'm just at yes or no.
I'm giving you
She's so full of shit. He's not giving roundabout. She's asking stupid questions and he's trying to answer it to make her not sound as stupid.
Answers.
Go
ahead. So I'd like to finish about pornography.
Go ahead.
I would say it's not a deal breaker if a woman had participated in pornography, much the same way it is not a deal breaker. Well, it's something to be very, very worried about. So I'll answer it this way.
Fair.
It's very hard for me to find anything that's
fair.
A deal breaker for marriage, except for maybe diagnosed severe mental illness, for example. Or addiction to drugs, things like that. But that would apply to men and women.
Yeah.
So when it comes to pornography, I would say it's very concerning.
She's talking about you just going roundabout.
If a woman had previously engaged in pornography, just like it is very concerning if a woman chooses to marry a man who's previously viewed pornography.
But this is my question. It's like, why can't men have standards? And this is what
she keeps asking the same thing, and he never said men can't have standards. He never said that. Because what you're saying aren't standards. You're giving hard nose, like deal breakers off things that's subjective to the individual. And some things that some people are okay with and some things some people aren't okay with. And that's okay.
I've noticed from the trad community and like the conservatives, it's like the quality of women keeps going down and down and down. And we can't even definitively say, hey, maybe we shouldn't marry porn stars. Maybe we shouldn't marry overweight women. You know, it's like we constantly get rid of standards for men.
No, I'm fine with standards as long as...
And we can't even... No, you're not, because you're not even definitively saying you shouldn't marry a porn star.
Mm-hmm.
You would never in a million years tell your son to marry a porn star.
An active, currently working porn star?
Even a previous porn star.
You said former.
But even if he would tell his son he can't marry a porn star, that's not speaking to one, all men, and two, if he did it, he wouldn't be like, I'm disowning you. If he do it, that's his son, that's his prerogative. Like, what the fuck you gonna do about it? Can't really do shit about it.
Even former, you would never. Come on, someone you loved.
We would we don't want our kids to do a lot of things, but sometimes they might do it, and they either A, got to learn on their own, or B, you just support them if it's not detrimental to their life. But it's all situational. It depends. It depends on what's going on.
This is why.
You can keep talking, or you can ask me a question. Because I was going to say, I do believe in standards, Pearl. I just believe they should be applied equally. So if women have a past in porn and that makes them unmarriageable, fine. Then we should just say any man who's looked at porn, don't marry him either.
The equal.
Is it okay for men to look at porn?
You can ask that during your cross-examination.
The equal equivalent would be a man that's participated in porn. That would be the equal equivalent if we're really going to go apples to apples here. But what I'm asking is, okay,
and there's lots of men who participate in porn that way.
You know, a quarter of women, up to a third, have an STD. Should men marry them?
Should they marry them?
Yeah.
Actively with an STD? What are you saying? Are you saying had one? Are you saying they actively have it right now? Because why would anybody date anybody with an STD? Stop saying women. What's the statistic of men with STDs? Why are you saying that like only women can get STDs? What the fuck? And if they're heterosexual, then obviously more than likely they got it from a man. So what are we talking about?
Just the same reasons would apply if you asked women, should they marry men who have STDs? Because men have lots of STDs. And if it's okay to marry them.
But why is it what about the men? It's like the
because
craziest
men and women
you're not acknowledging the fact that these things can go both ways. You're saying it's like these things are gendered and they're not.
Equal. Men and women are equal and we should treat them equally.
It's the crazy. I don't think men and women are equal.
Are they equal in value and dignity?
Sorry, just real quick. Trent, you can ask questions in your cross-examination.
I'm not coming at this from a religious point of view. What I am saying is that you keep telling men to lower their standards because you were saying wife up these whores. 3% of women, 100 years ago, men got a virgin. They got a virgin, 4+ kids. 3% of women are waiting till marriage
wife
nowadays.
up these whores.
You're saying wife them up anyway. Doesn't matter the risk. Who cares?
Do you have a question, Pearl?
So yeah,
She don't have a question because she
to,
just wants to keep reiterating her stupid talking points. She does not have a question. She does not.
STD is not a deal breaker. Yes or no?
No, they're not. If they're not a deal breaker for men, they're not a deal breaker for women.
Okay. On top of that, porn not a deal breaker.
Having been involved in pornography? Mm-hmm. No, it's not a deal breaker, but it's something to be very concerned about. The same as if a man had been behind the camera doing OnlyFans work or working at OnlyFans. But if he's truly repented, then people can really change, and we should give them mercy.
With his camera? Leave it alone.
People can
what are they
change,
doing?
but it doesn't mean they statistically do.
Look,
And women
what?
that have made those
Man or a woman.
people can change, but it doesn't mean they statistically do. And women that have made those decisions, statistically, the grass, statistically, it's not a happy ending for most of them.
I love how first of all, she's not even saying what statistics she's referring to about women changing or period or whatever. But I love how statistically that doesn't map out. But he just rattled off all these statistics and the source of where he got them from as to why marriage is beneficial to men. Yet, fuck all that. I don't even care. I'm not going to acknowledge. She didn't rebuttal it. She didn't ask him any questions about it during her time to grill him about whatever. She could say whatever she wants right now. She has not asked about any of those statistics to delve deeper. And she hasn't even acknowledged all of the benefits that he laid out. And now she wants to talk about statistically what maps out as far as the future of women that made certain decisions. Are you shitting me? And then you're saying that, but you're not bringing up any numbers to support what statistics you're talking about. You're just trying to say statistically people don't change. What does that even mean? What does that mean?
So that's the other question. Why would you sign up? Would you ever sign a business contract that someone's paid to leave?
That's not, she's trying to simplify it, and that's not what divorce is. And then she's ignoring prenups existing.
So me and you are going to do business.
That's part of the contract in most cases. In the cases that you're referring to where women walk off with everything, those are the ones with people with money, and most times they get prenups or postnups done.
And I get a bunch of money and your children if I leave. You would sign that contract.
If you get
That's not how it works, though. It's not that simple.
my children, because maybe we're pairing our YouTube channels together.
Yeah.
Probably not going to sell off my kids on that, but it's very common in business deals, Pearl, where if you have a high value business partner and you really want them to be a part of the venture, you might include things like a buyout clause or severance pay. That's not that uncommon to ameliorate risks or to encourage them to take part in the project.
Okay, so would you would you sign the contract or no?
When I sign a contract, you've made it very
Where I'm paid to leave.
Where you're paid to leave if you're my business partner. It depends how much and what risk.
She just wants to change his answer.
Why can't you answer the question?
Because your question is underdefined and it can't be answered. You've asked it in a very vague way, so I can only give it.
She wants him to answer the way she wants him to, but she's mad because he's giving a good answer.
A vague answer and reply.
Okay, me and you sign a business deal, and in that business deal,
go ahead.
and in that business deal, I get your whole YouTube channel if I leave. And I get your children. Are you signing it?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. That's the point. No, you're not.
Look, she tried to cut him off before he could elaborate. He said, no, but exactly. Like, girl, bye. Nobody, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Children, are you signing it?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. That's the point. No, you're not signing it.
Because you haven't.
And this is the thing. They act like it's one-off instances. And this is the point. No,
I missed it. I'm
and
sorry.
I get your children. Are you signing it?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. That's the point. No, you're not signing it.
Because you haven't.
And this is the thing. They act like it's one-off instances. And this is what the academics tend to do. They'll say, here's a study funded by this organization, or here's another study, and they want you to not believe what's in front of your eyes. Men are not signing up for marriage today. And you can say it's that marriage is a great deal for men, but men are naturally logical. They do what makes sense. 100 years ago, men were still men, same software. They married women in 3 months. There's a reason it's gone up to 3 years.
I would give
just compare what was going on 100 years ago as if those same standards can apply today. Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Would sign a contract where if you're undergoing significant risk, and the whole point of things that if a marriage divorces is that women undertake risks. If they come and then they give up their careers and they stay home and raise children, for example, and they
The
do that
majority of women aren't doing that. The majority of women are not doing that statistically. 3 out of 4 women are working, so that's not the majority.
The point is, if they go and do that and they take part in a marriage,
they don't want
you're
to.
going to be you're undertaking risks when you're involved in marriage. Well, as I stated before, women are twice as likely to end up in poverty after divorce than men.
Yeah, because women are bad with money.
No,
women,
what happens is
women just do everything wrong. Women suck. Women can't do anything. Clearly. Like, why are you even engaged in this debate when you're not doing it in good faith? Like, you're literally just blaming every fucking thing on women and they can't do anything right.
Women have 80% of the world's debt. Women have 80% of the world's debt.
You're not even engaging in the conversation. You just want to say women suck, and I hate you. I hate you.
And many
as I showed in my opening statement,
women have 80% of the world's debt. Women are not.
No, what happens is women usually worse than men.
Yeah, because women are bad with money.
No, what happens is
women have 80% of the world's debt. Women have 80% of the world's debt. Women are not good with money. And many
as I showed in my opening statement, men have the majority of debt.
Many, that's not true. Women have 80% of the world's debt. And the other thing that they don't take into account is that
in this country, men have more. But go ahead.
And women have 80% of the world's debt. Women are not great with money, and men earn more as well too. And the thing is, you're not addressing the suicide problem. Do you not think that's a problem?
Of course, suicide's problem is more of a problem for
You don't even care about suicide because the men that don't get married are more likely to commit suicide. So what are we talking about? You keep talking about the negatives of divorce. Divorce, by definition, is a negative. Well, no, not even by definition, because divorce may be the best thing for people to experience if they're in a marriage sometimes. But you're talking about the worst of the bad scenario. You're talking about a bad scenario, then you're talking about the worst things that can come out of that bad scenario. You're already talking about a fringe of a fringe. Like, well, divorce isn't technically fringe, but the fact is you're cutting down, you're going through a lot of rings to get to the bottom here. You're going through a lot to get there. And now you're just like, you're so bought into this bullshit that you're willing to defend stuff that you don't even have to defend.
Men who never marry.
Exactly. See, he said it.
I think that's a problem.
He said what I said.
Of course, suicide's a problem. It's more of a problem for men who never marry.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying, right?
Divorce. They're 9 times more likely to commit suicide after a divorce.
They're 9 times more likely than a divorced woman. You're misreading the
statistics. A divorced woman, you're not even.
And in family court, if they find within 5 years, many men do commit suicide. What do you think? You think it's just made up? You think it's just fake? All these men that are saying my life is ruined.
Yes, let him answer it. Go
ahead.
No, because I've actually read the studies, and the problem is you're doing the comparison fallacy here. You're just picking, hey, if you get married, this bad thing can happen to you, or this bad thing can happen to you, and that's true. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to not get married, you can also have many bad things happen to you. You can grow up and have no social connection.
Pearl, I'm begging you. Pearl, I'm begging you to address what he's about to say. Please.
You become married. This bad thing can happen to you, or this bad thing can happen to you, and that's true. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to not get married, you can also have many bad things happen to you. You can grow up and have no social connections. You become a recluse, and you're more likely to commit suicide. You're more likely just to not take care of yourself. And the statistics show that on average, ever married men, including divorced men, live longer, are healthier, and rate their lives as happier than never married men. It's a statistical fact.
Because women date happy men.
So
women pick.
What? You literally are acting like there's no man that can be happy in marriage and everything is wrong, and now women they pick happy men to marry? Where did that come from? That doesn't even make sense with your whole spiel. What the fuck is happening, dog? Oh my God.
Pick for these things.
How do you know that?
Because I'm a woman. I'm a woman. I know what we pick for. We like tall, handsome, good-looking men.
Is every married man tall?
We pick tall, handsome, good-looking men. What that got to do with their happiness? You think just because they have those things, they're automatically happy?
All handsome and good looking.
Not every, but he's usually one of those things. He's usually one. Like he's usually either successful.
Handsome and good looking are synonyms. So you said he usually has one. So
tall, handsome, good looking men.
Is every married man tall, handsome, and good looking?
Not every,
Right.
but he's usually one of those things. He's usually one. Like he's usually either successful or handsome or good. It's women don't marry homeless men off the street.
There's a big difference
There's a
between
big
tall,
difference.
handsome, and
So-
successful
so
and
I'm saying,
homeless. There's
Like,
also
what
average.
the fuck are we talking? You see what I'm saying? What she has to say to make her points actually sound. Well, excuse me. She's doing a bad job of it, but what she's saying makes no sense. It's either tall, handsome, and good looking and successful or homeless. What the fuck are we talking about?
And so my point is, women tend to pick above average men. We see this on dating apps. Women swipe right 5.
Most men, those men are few and far in between, but there's plenty of men underneath the successful, richest men that are married. Women are picking them. What are you talking about?
Percent of the time, the number one way people are meeting under 30 is on dating apps.
That's because on dating apps,
but
3
you don't know what
times
you're talking about. You're not
do.
even out dating. Like that's
I
the thing.
do.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're not even out dating. You don't even know what you're talking about because you're out here single, stupid broad.
Because on dating apps, Pearl, the reason that women are so choosy is because there are 3 to 4 times as many men on dating apps than women.
Mm-hmm.
So men will be constantly
can
swiping
choose,
right.
right.
Women can be more
choose.
choosy in that environment because there's just so many more men. But in real life, when you look at a 1993 study, another one by Taylor and
social media.
another one by
Before
Taylor,
social media.
Taylor done in
Before
2011.
social media.
I would like to finish. Before Taylor study in 2011 shows that men and women, when they get married, they tend to be within the same social range and attractiveness. So while for dating and hookups, you're correct, women on social media apps, because there's so many men to pick from, go for the higher quality
same
men.
men.
When it comes for marriage, people tend to marry within their own social and attractiveness value bracket.
Right, but that doesn't disprove what I'm saying. Women pick a small percentage of men
No,
when
it does.
given the choice.
That's not true because
If
I'm talking
women are
about marriage.
If women,
We're talking about marriage, not Tinder.
but that's the number one way people are.
Sips tea.
A small percentage of men. That doesn't disprove what I'm saying. Women pick a small percentage of men when given the choice.
That's not true because
But
I'm
if women
talking
are
about
swiping-
marriage.
If women,
We're talking about marriage, not Tinder.
but that's the number one way people are meeting under 30.
Oh,
And that's the thing.
shit.
Like a lot of you guys are so out of touch. You don't see like
Did she say a lot or did she say most?
meeting under 30.
We're talking about marriage, not Tinder.
But that's the number one way people are meeting under 30.
Number one, I don't believe that. I don't even know if that's true. Matter of fact, I'm finna look it up. She said that's the number one. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all.
And that's the thing. Like a lot of you guys are so out of touch. You don't see like these studies take years to come out at some time. I can tell you firsthand what's going on because I actually talked to the people.
No, I agree. It's dumb to try to meet your spouse on Tinder. That's dumb.
Right, but that's what's happening.
Right.
That's where the world is going.
Right.
And you're encouraging men to clean up women's mess. And I say men shouldn't have to do that. Men shouldn't have to sign a contract where women are paid to leave. I think it's so simple. If people are paid to do the wrong thing, why wouldn't they do it? Why would I'm not saying every woman will, but
So it looks like people use those avenues under 30 pretty much. They do use dating apps, but that I don't think that translates to actual relationships and then on top of that successful ones. She just says shit while being out of touch. You feel me, bro? Like she calls him out of touch because he's not dating because he's been married. But yet you're not dating, you're not married, you never been married, you probably never will marry. So who are you to say he's out of touch? You're out of touch with reality. At least he's out of touch just simply because he's been married and is still making it work. You're out of touch because you don't even live in the real world. And that's what I'm saying. Right. Dating apps are for people to hook up. Most people aren't using dating apps to find the person they're going to marry. And it's not even to say that it can't happen, but that's not what the goal be. Like, come on, bro. Like, can we come to reality for you to call him out of touch? That don't make no fucking sense. It's not even like he's fucking 80 years old. He understands social media. He understands people use dating apps.
But every woman can.
What woman is going to want to say, gee, you know what would be great?
Don't ask questions. Let her go.
Yeah. Well, I'll go. Well,
You can
Wait,
answer
I
it,
thought-
but
I will
ask her a
answer
question.
it.
I thought
no,
he was
women
on
aren't
his
saying,
turn
gee, it would
now.
be so awesome if I married this guy and then got full custody of the kids. So now I'm a single parent and I have to take care of these kids. Good thing he sends me $440 a month to help with that. That doesn't sound like a great deal to me.
$440.
Oh, me. And oh God. She said $440 is she's finna say some wild shit. She's finna say something wild. Let's see.
And then got full custody of the kids. So now I'm a single parent and I have to take care of these kids. Good thing he sends me $440 a month to help with that. That doesn't sound like a great deal to me.
$440 over 18 years is over $100K. That's life-changing money. That is
Yo, you see what I'm talking about? Fam, she just tried to say $100K is lifetime changing money as if the woman has nothing, no other expenses in her life. Say she got 2 to 3 kids. $400 a month, $100K over a lifetime. $100K in a lifetime is not a lot of money. Let's put this in perspective. The average American makes what, 40 something K a year? Let's see. We finna look this up. The average annual salary in the US is $63,000. Okay. I was wrong. That's on the lower end. $63,000 a year. In 3 years, you've already made $100K. 3 years. Out of the average lifespan of around 70-something years old, what are you talking about? $100K over a lifetime is life-changing money. Are you fucking kidding me? Bro, does she even think about the shit she says before she says it? And then it's not just money that's being handed to you to do what the fuck you want. That's money just that's supposed to go to help your kids. $100K over 18 years is life-changing money. For whose life? Whose life did you change? You can't even send 2 of your kids to college with that. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? She really said that.
life-changing. And this is the thing. Dollars over 18 years is over 100K. That's life-changing money.
I can't. That's life-changing money. Yeah, if somebody handed you $100K, it could change your life, but not $400 a month to try to raise 3 kids.
That is life-changing. And this is the thing.
Try raising children on 3 kids on $440 a month.
And this is the thing. This is the other thing that you don't think of. Oh, this is the other thing. See, I'm not used to. I always have
She
to
just
write it
made me
down.
mad.
You
Legit,
said that men
bro.
don't fight for custody. This is the problem with men in statistics. This is the problem when people just read studies
What's
and they're
the
not actually in
problem,
the field.
Sensei
You don't
Pearl?
know why. You don't know why men aren't fighting.
Now you're asking why. You don't ask why about anything else. Why do men commit suicide more? Why do women fare off worse after divorce? Why do women have sex before marriage? Why do women get abortion? You don't care about none of those whys, but now you want to say you don't ask why men don't try to fight for custody for their kids. You don't know why, and you don't care.
Fighting, because a lot of times men are in the position they cannot afford to fight for custody, and the lawyers will tell them not to do.
Men make the most money and now they can't afford to fight for custody. First of all, most people settle custody cases outside of courtrooms, and when men actually do fight, they do get it. Women typically get it because the man doesn't even want to have the child full time. That's not, you don't understand anything. Bro, no one can survive off $400 a month. And she said, $400, that's over $100K over a lifetime. That's life-changing money. $100K over a lifetime is not life-changing money at all. $100K in 1 month could change your life. Potentially. But to say, if $100K in 1 month could potentially change my life, $100K over my entire 18 years won't do shit. Won't do shit. If you hand somebody 100K without kids, maybe, but the 100K she's getting is only because of the kids. It balances out, dumbass.
Do it because they spend $50,000. You know, I interviewed one guy, $1.5 million in Texas.
What you want to say?
$1.5 million on a divorce. He still didn't get primary custody. These cases are common, and if you spent a day in family,
and I'm not trying to say that's not fucked up, but if he can afford to do that, I don't even know if it sits well with me to say that he couldn't afford it. If he could spend $1 million to fight for custody, and one didn't get it and two paid that much money, he could afford it, and he probably didn't deserve the kids. Like, there's probably a reason he couldn't get the kids. I don't see somebody spending that type of money to fight for custody and then not get it. If he had that type of money and didn't get his kids, it's probably a reason. And Pearl, you're so gullible that you wouldn't even believe that he's just giving you the version of the story that he wants to tell you.
Court, if you actually were in the field, you would know.
Okay, so that's an anecdote, and it also doesn't say anything about marriage, because if a man hooks up with a woman or cohabits and she gets pregnant, he can have the same issues. So this is not unique to marriage.
Well, yeah, but marriage puts them at a higher risk because they're on the hook for alimony as well.
Alimony is only paid out in 8% of marriages.
Which is
I know, but what does a man
number.
get out of marriage that he doesn't get out of a live-in girlfriend? What benefit?
Well, he doesn't. One benefit, he's not a 45-year-old guy saying, "Can I bring my girlfriend to the party?"
Who cares?
Well, he's not that. He's a mature, stable person.
Okay.
What does he get out of it? He lives
benefit?
longer. He's healthier.
No. What benefit does he get out of specifically signing that contract? What does he get?
Living longer. Most people don't just cohabitate for the rest for their whole life. I would think it's safe to say that most people that live with their significant other for their entire lives are probably married.
Women give children outside of marriage, so that he doesn't get that. The women. What benefit does he get out of specifically signing that contract? What does he get?
Glad you're back.
Women give children outside of marriage, so that he doesn't get that. The women.
So you saying you acknowledging you get that outside of marriage, but you won't acknowledge the statistics that benefit the man in marriage, like living longer.
Gain weight after marriage, he doesn't get that. And all of the stats you're saying you're attributing
and stability, like you said,
to marriage, I would disagree.
Well,
I would say that women tend to marry happy, successful men.
That is just a correlative theory that you have, and that's not true, because if you just look around at men, and when you do longitudinal studies that control for success, you see that's not the case. One longitudinal study found that after a man gets married and upon the birth of his first child, he works 10 to 20 hours a week more than unmarried men.
Right,
the reason they're more successful.
Women love spending men's money.
How does that go back to the women doing something wrong? What are you talking about? You already said that most women work and don't just want to be stay-at-home moms. So what do you mean they want to spend his money if she's out working too, and he's probably only working more because he had just had a kid? Now he has more responsibilities, so he works more. What are we talking about?
Of course he's got to work more. Even car sales.
How did you not make it up? He literally said after men have kids, they have a child, they do 10 to 20 hours more work, and then you turn around and make that about the women love to spend the men's money. You didn't say, like, of course he wants to work more because he had a kid. That was such an easy thing to own up to, and you just lost like a bunch of credibility saying some nonsense like this.
He works 10 that after a man gets married and upon the birth of his first child, he works 10 to 20 hours a week more than unmarried men.
Right,
the reason they're more successful.
Women love spending men's money. Of course he's got to work more. Even car salesmen will tell you the final say is who? The woman.
It's because now he's grown up.
Man. She has 2 million subscribers, y'all. She has 2 million subscribers.
Pearl. He's grown up and he realizes life isn't just about him. He has to take care of other people.
My wife's credit card spending is off the chain. And that's the thing. I am
Men
in the
have
field.
more credit card debt than women.
I am in the field. I am in the field.
What
That's the
expertise?
thing.
What field? What expertise do you have in
Because
this?
when you actually interview
I'm in the
men,
field. No, you have a selection bias. You are not in the field. You are not in the field. You have a selection bias to purport your talking points. That's it. Loathe, bro. What's all the words? Loathe, despise, hate, have contempt for. Everything you could think of, she falls into that. She said, my girl said, I'm in the field. No, the fuck you're not. You not in the field. She's just out here looking at the worst, the men that have been fucked over the most. That's like me saying, like, I'm trying to think of an analogy. That's like me saying, let me go look into footwork culture. I want to go look at the culture of footwork. And then I go look at all the niggas that can't footwork and that tried and weren't good at it. Like, that's like, yeah, let me go. I want to find out more about footwork culture. And then I go talk to every nigga that tried it and gave up. That's like what she's doing right now. She's like, I want to figure out what she actually is going in with bad faith in the first place because she doesn't want to find out about marriage. She wants to find out, she wants to see all of the bad things that come with getting married and then getting divorced. Not even just like marriage. It's like, I want to find out what men deal with marriage and then get divorced. No, let me not stop there. And then the ones that had a bad experience after the divorce. She's not just looking at men that got married, married and then got divorced, and then married and got divorced and had a bad experience, married and got divorced and had a good experience. She said, let me go look at all the bad experiences that happen after men get married and divorced, and then going from there and acting like that represents everybody. Literally.
Gone through this, you have a completely different perspective. And that's the thing, because we just went through COVID.
It don't give you a different perspective. It just lets you see the worst of the worst. That's not everybody knows that there's bad situations that could come from anything. You get in a car every fucking day and it's the most dangerous thing you could do.
How many studies did they have? And experts that came out and said, COVID, you should take the shot. Oh, sorry, I don't want to YouTube you, but
you have 1 minute left.
But
do y'all see how flustered she is? She just jumped like 3 different topics and then said, I don't want to YouTube you. She's so flustered that she can't even speak English anymore.
COVID, how many studies did they have? Different.
Expertise
That's the
do you have
thing,
in
because
this?
when you actually interview the men that have gone through this, you have a completely different perspective. And that's the thing, because we just went through COVID. How many studies did they have? And experts that came out and said, COVID, you should take the shot. Oh, sorry, I don't want to YouTube you, but
You have 1 minute left.
But
she doesn't
my
know
entire
what
point
the
is you
fuck
can make
to
a
do.
study that says anything, but if you look at reality,
So studies are wrong except for the ones you cite for your position.
Right. She's been citing studies, but just reading them off but they don't really have any relation to her conclusion. She just reads off numbers and acts like it supports what she already believes. And then says studies can say anything, but yeah, you citing studies to purport what you believe. And then when he gives counter studies, his studies can say anything. Come on, bro.
Get reality. You would never sign a contract that someone is paid to leave, and the quality.
Because she's flustered. She meant to say, I don't want to demonetize. She probably wanted to say demonetize. I don't want to demonetize you. Because you can't say, I guess, COVID or shot or injection or vaccine. You can't, like, when you say vaccine and COVID, maybe YouTube acts weird, I guess, depending on the channel and what you're saying. But she said, I didn't want to YouTube you because she's flustered and just, she couldn't speak English for a second.
There are just not enough wives to go around.
You have 40 seconds left. Feel free to ask him more questions.
No, I think that's it.
All right. No problem. All right, we've got 20 minutes.
Look at all
Again,
look
you're
at her.
asking
She
the
don't know what to
questions.
do.
You're responding to them.
She's so out of her element because she's not going to be able to cut him off at all. She's like so like uncomfortable. That's why she can't stop moving. And you see Trent like, let me hold my beer real quick.
No problem. All right, we've got 20 minutes. Again, you're asking the questions. You're responding to them.
All right.
We'll try not to talk over each other just for the sake of those at home as best as we're able. Ready, set, go.
Alrighty.
It's kind of fun.
It is fun. You'll get addicted to it after a while.
I was a little nervous, but it's kind of fun.
Then you get right into it and it's just fun.
We see you nervous, girl.
Alrighty. We brought up something earlier about men. Do you think men and women have equal basic value? Like equal dignity?
What do you mean by dignity?
They have the same intrinsic goodness. Men and women are equal in their basic value, their goodness as human beings.
Like I think that...
Get the likes up.
Because it depends, right? It depends how,
Why is this question hard to answer? Why isn't it just yes? Why isn't the answer yes? He said, are men and women equal as far as dignity as a human being? And she's saying, what do you mean? Hello?
I think that men do more good in society than women. And I'm assuming that's like the tweet you're talking about. But
no, I'm asking because earlier...
She didn't even say good. I mean, he didn't say, his initial question wasn't about good. It was about, are they equal as far as dignity as a human?
I said men and women are equal, and you denied that. And I said I agree that men and women are unequal in many ways. But surely, like, for example, do white and black people have equal dignity?
Yeah, sure.
Do men and women have...
Why was that so easy to say, but you could not say it for women and men? Are you kidding me?
Equal dignity.
Sure.
Okay, good. That's really good to hear.
And she knew that she could not go back from that. That's why she answered quick that time. She couldn't, that was going to look terrible if she would have went back on that.
All right.
But she want to give a caveat. She want to give a caveat. She
deal for men. For a marriage that does so, because a majority of marriages do not end in divorce. For the marriages, at least let's say this, for the marriages that don't end in divorce, are those bad deals for men?
If the wife gained a significant amount of weight, I would...
According to who? According to who? According to who? You.
Say bad deal. Most men don't want a fat wife, I would say. If the wife cheats, I would say bad deal. Most men don't want a cheating wife. Mm-hmm. If they're in a sexless marriage...
Nobody wants a cheating spouse. Why are you saying that like women? Men are the ones that cheat more. So why are you saying that as if women are cheaters? If that's what they're known for. What the fuck?
I would say bad deal. Most men want... I think most men, if you said, hey guys, do you want to get married? Your wife isn't going to sleep with you after you have 2 children. They would say, oh, hell no.
Well, that's not the case for most men. So why are you saying that?
What?
Oh, hell no.
Pearl,
so,
what would be the best? Let's say a man says, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman.
Okay.
What would you say is the best relationship kind for him to obtain that?
What do you mean by best?
If a guy says to you, Pearl, I would like a long-term sexual relationship with a woman, what kind of relationship should I pursue? Marriage, cohabitation, dating? Which would be the best strategy?
It depends on the state you're in, because some states have different states have different laws.
Just in general. Would you say...
Well, I don't... There's no general answer. There's no general answer.
How did that become about states? That's not a question about states and laws. What the fuck are you talking about?
Because it would depend on the state.
Why would it? Because what you're saying is that the harm...
for example...
Well, let me finish, because I get to interrupt now, and that's where it gets fun.
Go ahead.
Because what you're saying is, it's not... Even though the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, you still say those are a bad deal because women gain weight, even though men gain weight also. But
what about the men, though?
Do men in long-term cohabiting relationships, do those women gain weight?
Not as much, but the difference is it's easier to get out of. So if a woman gains weight, it's much easier to break up with a girlfriend than it is a wife.
Okay.
So you're able to have higher standards.
How much weight can a woman gain in marriage before you consider her unmarriageable?
Depends on the guy. I think...
So now that depends on the guy. It didn't depend on the guy when just simply even having these standards in the first place. That doesn't depend on the guy, right? Right?
I think it's unfair more than like 20 pounds, 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are you doing, ladies? Get on the treadmill.
What are you doing, Lana?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay, and I think it's good for women.
But-
I think it
but
is good for
according to-
women
but
if
according
men
to
have
Gordon,
standards
But according
for
to
us.
that Gordon Larson study, cohabiting women gain. What was it?
The studies I've seen, it's
18.
less.
Those less, but they still.
I've seen around 10. I've seen 10.
That's the study you're citing for 24 pounds gain. They gain 18 pounds in marriage. People, the problem is if you're saying that it's a bad deal for men to be in a relationship where women gain weight, and if women gain weight in all relationships, aren't you really just saying women are a bad deal for men,
right,
not
women.
marriage?
No,
It's
I'm
women.
saying that women, the difference is in a long-term relationship, you can say you need to change or I'm going to go. And women tend to act better when men have standards.
Okay. Do you agree that married men rate themselves? Do married men live longer than unmarried men?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so that's
Because I think women tend to pick healthier men.
okay.
I mean, I'm a woman. We want, I mean, why do you think women are throwing themselves at these like NBA player? We want the good genes.
Are most men who get married not NBA players?
No,
Right.
but you can see when you look at the men that women are throwing themselves at, you can see what women select for.
Okay. So, but you would agree, though, that even if that is correct, even if it's correct that women choose men who are happier and healthier, if a man chooses to get married, then that would seem that he is or has made himself to be a happy, healthy individual.
Yeah,
Right?
if he
gets successfully marries.
Can you say the question a
If a
different
man
way?
successfully marries
Okay.
a woman, does that mean he has become a happy and healthy individual?
Not because of the marriage,
No,
but
but
she was
Girl.
probably selected because he was that type of person.
So he's made himself into that kind of a person. He's disciplined himself. He's made himself at least somewhat successful, happy and healthy. Okay, good. So he becomes that.
I wouldn't attribute it to marriage, though.
But
I would attribute it to the I think men are going to do what they're going to do. They're on a mission.
On average, though, does marriage take that away from men, their happiness and their health?
Good question.
I would say yes. I would say there are more men in unhappy marriages than happy. Out of the original 100 that got married.
Do you have a
so
okay,
if you take the I'm answering the question.
Go ahead, sure.
You want
That's fine.
So the study you're talking
She
about,
really did
35%.
that.
I've heard that's a bit dishonest. I've heard it's more 50%,
Of
45% of marriages end in divorce. The last one was from 2023. I know it was a little off because of COVID, but I think if you include sexless marriages, women that belittle their husband, that's really common. Women that
That's really common to who said when who that's really common. No, I don't believe you. I'm not taking your word on that. I'm not taking your word on that. Not. Cuz how you know? Cuz of the men that you talk to that had divorces and they ended up bad and they ended up in a worse situation. That's what makes it common. You literally are selecting from the smallest portion of these people.
make fun of their husbands in public.
Then
Women
you're taking it away from my.
husbands in public. Come on, dog. These are not like issues that most married men deal with on a regular basis. It's just not. It's just all you're saying is that women suck. That's all you're saying. That's all you're saying.
My main point. So you're claiming that these happy, healthy men who get married, the majority of them, they lose their happiness. Do you have a study that shows that? Because let me finish.
Okay.
I have cited the General Social Survey, the Gallup surveys, hundreds of thousands of people who are tracked,
not finna
Harvard
say
Adult
shit.
Study, 80 years, that married men rate themselves as happier and healthier. And
Right,
the majority of them do.
But you're attributing that to marriage.
I'm not. I'm just saying. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
that even if marriage is negative in some ways, it doesn't take that away from them. You're making the claim that the majority of married men aren't happy,
Okay,
but
so-
you have no study to back that
I'm
up.
saying that you
Right.
can back it up when you look at 40%. Let's say 40% of marriages end in divorce.
Okay.
40%. Now you have 6 left. A quarter of them are sexless. Boom, that's over 50.
That's not true. A quarter are not.
You see how she cannot back off of any of these talking points. She can't substantiate anything she's saying beyond talking points. and she's ignoring what he says just to reiterate what she already believes.
There you go.
quarter-
Women on average,
Okay.
and then on average, so at least half of the women gain 25
All right, I'm
pounds.
going to ask you another
Boom.
question.
And all these standards are things that you saying are a bad thing, as if men go into marriages dreading these things, and that's not the case.
Ask you another question again. So we do surveys,
Okay.
and we ask people if they're happy. And I've cited multiple studies, okay, where hundreds of thousands of married men are asked.
Let him
Let me
finish.
are
Sorry,
asked
sorry.
if they are happy.
Right.
Okay.
And the majority,
She's not used to that.
80% to 90%, say yes. Can you cite a study that shows that the majority of men in marriage say they're not happy?
Well, you're saying in marriage, I'm including divorced.
Sure. Wait, no,
That's
but
my
what,
point.
my,
But my original statement was
and I'm going to interrupt because it's my turn. My original
Yeah.
question was for marriage, since the majority of marriages don't end in divorce, and if divorce is the only bad thing, then
Not-
marriage is a good deal.
but
so
I
then
did-
setting that aside, you cannot show that married men are
No,
unhappy.
no,
You have
no,
no
but-
data for
but-
it.
I also added
you
in-
Can't, all she's doing is saying what she thinks sounds good and what she's heard from her horror stories of divorce, which divorce is not marriage. Divorce is literally the end of the marriage. You need to talk about marriage. You need to talk about men that are actively married, whether it's good or bad, and talk to a decent number of them and actually act like you've cared enough about what marriage looks like, instead of just trying to just say marriage is bad because you've talked to the worst of the worst case scenarios. This is craziness.
I said if a woman
Imagine us trying to sell people cars and then presenting them only the most fatal and most final destination type deaths that have occurred. Are you kidding me, bro? That doesn't even make sense.
gains weight, that's a bad deal. If a woman cheats, that's a bad deal.
Do the men say it's not worth it? But do the men say it's not worth it to them?
Exactly.
You
Answer
asked
that.
what I would classify as a successful marriage. Or you asked you that was that you I made the premise.
The debate is not whether Pearl thinks marriage is a bad deal.
You said I could make the premise.
Yeah, but
so I said a good deal is classified as a woman that stays in shape, F's her husband, and stays married and is obedient. So if she's not
Man,
if she's not having sex with her husband and she's gaining weight,
who should determine?
Then that's 60%. At least half of them are doing that.
Who should we look to determine the standard of whether marriage is a good?
Well,
let me finish. Whether marriage is a good deal? Married men or Pearl Davis?
I think you should look at men and what they're choosing, and they're not choosing marriage. Because if it was a good deal, it would be an easy sell. Good products get sold.
Is exercise
gets good
Pearl,
products?
Is exercise a good deal? Or gym's a good? Is exercising a good deal?
Exercising is a good deal, but
Do
I wouldn't.
most people sign up for it?
I wouldn't say those are the same thing, because again, if women were benefiting men like they were 100 years ago, if we look at 100 years ago, men signed up for marriage within 3 months. That's all it took.
All right. Here's my
Now
next
it's
question.
taken 3
Here's my
years.
next question.
Now
If
it's
marriage
taken
is
3
so
years.
bad, including people who end in divorce,
I didn't say all marriage
She
is
needs
bad.
to get the
okay, if
fuck
in
on.
general marriage,
I said out of 151 will fail.
if it's more likely, if it's greater than not, that marriage it will be bad, and if that's the case, why do 65% of divorced men get married again, even though they've already been through a marriage that's failed? If it's so bad, Pearl, why do the majority of men get married again?
Well, I would say, people don't always make logical decisions when it comes to love. But
Or you don't make logical decisions before you speak. I think that makes more sense.
my question would go back to, why aren't men
Okay,
signing
you
up
didn't
in
get to ask the
general?
question.
Okay, so you're just so anybody who just disagrees with your standard of marriage, they're just being illogical.
No.
Right. Yes. No, that is what you're saying. That's the only logical train that you can follow.
Okay, you're just so
No,
anybody
you can't have
who
that.
just
You
disagrees
can't
with
say
your
that.
standard of marriage, they're just being illogical.
Logical decisions when it comes to love. Well,
It's failed. If it's so bad, Pearl, why do the majority of men get married again?
Right. Why do majority of men get married again?
well, I would say, people don't always make logical decisions when it comes to love.
So, therefore, why do men? He said, why do men marry again? She said, well, people don't make logical decisions when they're in love. Meaning, that means if you decide to marry again after you've been divorced, you don't make logical decisions. That means she didn't even leave room to say maybe. She said people don't make logical decisions when they're in love. So she's saying if you do it, that means you're making an illogical decision.
But my question would go back to, why aren't men signing up in general?
Okay, so anybody who just disagrees with your standard of marriage, they're just being illogical.
Yes, because she just laid out her standards of marriage and the reason why men would marry again after getting a divorce. And he's asking a very reasonable question. So if people don't agree with what you're saying, they're just illogical, right?
No.
Okay.
And she's saying no. You can't have it both ways, Pearl. You full of shit.
I said a good deal. I clarified it in the beginning. I said good deal, doesn't gain weight, sleeps with her husband, stays married. I think that's the bare minimum.
Why can't this be a good deal for marriage if a married man says that he's happy?
Because I don't think that happy. I think one
married man says that he's happy.
Because I don't think that happy. I think one, happiness studies, like how do they measure it?
Now you got all the questions and the nuance to figure out shit when it disproves what the fuck you gotta say, bro. Like this woman is I need a break. Hold on. I gotta piss, y'all. Hold on. Please forgive me. All right, y'all. We're getting through this.
Really ask the person if they're happy.
Yeah, people lie.
Okay, so it's just a giant
people
conspiracy.
Lie.
Everything
that goes against you is
okay. So do you think most men who are married are unhappy?
I think most men that sign up for marriage out of the original, not stay married, that sign up for marriage, 51 are unhappy with that original deal. And we can agree at least 40% divorce, right?
Yeah, there's a 40%.
Okay.
But
so what percent of men rate themselves as happy?
You don't get to ask that the questions.
Fine.
I get to ask them. And as I said before, just because a marriage ends in divorce, it doesn't mean that person now thinks that marriage is a bad deal, since the majority of men who get divorced choose to go back and get married anyways. I want to go back to some of the different.
Why don't the majority of men sign up for marriage?
You don't get to ask. Right. I'm going to go back here.
Because if it was such a good deal, they'd sign up.
Yeah, well,
they would. Good products get sold.
Talk about the gym.
You think?
Didn't he bring up the gym analogy? If isn't staying in shape and being healthy good? So why isn't everybody signing up for the gym? What are you talking about? Way less of a financial burden than marriage/divorce, right, Pearl? Right? Wouldn't you say there's less risk in signing up for a gym membership than marriage? I don't see everybody running to the gym. Sounds like a great idea, doesn't it?
Elon Musk is running out of his cars.
Okay.
When they first came out anyways. I don't know about now, but.
You're still comparing fucking inanimate objects to people and all the nuance that comes with it, bro. All right.
I heard that truck was bad.
All right.
The truck was bad.
Let's see here, because you've brought up
after you just tried to use it as an analogy for your point.
80% of women get HPV. That's crazy.
Okay, what percent of?
Oh God, and men can pass HPV, and it's worse because we don't know when we have it, Pearl. We don't know. Most women that get exposed to HPV as well, but it isn't affecting most of them.
80% of women get HPV. That's crazy.
Okay. What percent of men get HPV?
Exactly.
Similar, but they're only the sexually active.
Similar. That's exactly. I'm like, men pass it to women. What's she finna say? But that's only the sexually active men. Obviously, they're sexually active if they got HPV.
Okay. What percent of men get HPV?
Similar, but they're only the sexually active ones, and there's a higher percent of sexually active women.
Yeah, I guess I'll start asking these questions.
Wait, what the fuck?
Do men have a lot of STDs?
A smaller, they're at a lower rate than women.
How do you know that?
You can Google it. CDC.
Okay, but still, do the majority of men have STDs who are unmarried, sexually active?
Well, if they're sexually active, but the minority. This is the thing. You guys don't know what's going on.
Answer his
Because
fucking
you guys have been out of the
question.
game so long. The number one way that people are meeting is dating apps.
Answer his question.
Women swipe right 5, 10, up to 20% of the time. What does that mean?
Okay.
More
So, is
a
a man-
minority of men can even sleep around. So when you guys are saying men stop sleeping around, a minority of men even get the
She's not
choice to
answering.
do that.
Do men
Not
cheat?
answering.
Yeah.
Okay. So if a man cheats and he leaves his wife to be with another woman, is it fair that he should have to compensate her by paying for things like child support now that he's abandoned her?
Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. This is gonna be good. I need to hear what the fuck she finna say. Holy shit. Okay. Because this is the crux of everything that she says about child support.
Okay. So if a man cheats and he leaves his wife to be with another woman, is it fair that he should have to compensate her by paying for things like child support now that he's abandoned her?
Is he going to be an active father?
She finna try to throw in all these caveats before she can answer.
If a
Well,
man,
it's
no,
one thing. So
no,
so
I'm
I'm
gonna ask the
asking,
question
okay.
again. If a man
I'm clarifying.
if a man is married to a woman, they have 3 kids, and he says, "Wow, I'd like to be married to this other lady instead that I had an affair
Okay.
with," and he abandons his wife and children, and his wife has been raising these kids, and now they're on their own. Isn't it just that he should compensate them for putting them in that position by paying
How old
child
are,
support?
how many kids? How old?
Let's say
Gee,
3 kids, 3, 6, and 9.
it don't matter.
3, 6, and 9. And he completely abandoned them, not even.
So he tells the wife, "You can have full custody of the kids. I want to go and get remarried." Shouldn't he have to support them since he was an awful person and abandoned them and put them in this position?
You know what? Sorry. No, I don't believe in child support. I don't believe in alimony. I think it's equal. Women have fought. We have fought.
Yo! That's her shit, though. That's her shit. The most negative version of what can happen, and she still won't even accept the reality of the situation. A man that was completely in the wrong still does not have to pay child support. Wow, Pearl. You are the nuttiest person on the net.
For equality. Wait, we have fought for equality. We got it. So now you get a job like everyone else. It's a sad situation, but
job like everyone
overwhelmingly
else.
men aren't
What?
the ones doing that. Women, there are far more deadbeat moms
She's
than deadbeat
ignoring
dads.
everything
Do you think you
that
simp for
comes
men?
with this shit.
No.
You a
So
liar.
you don't call it
Look,
simping for
she
men and
couldn't
saying
even
that,
say that. She couldn't even
that
say
if
that
a
shit
woman
with a straight
does something
face,
bad,
bro.
you think
Men aren't the ones. So now you get a job like everyone else. It's a sad situation, but overwhelmingly men aren't the ones doing that.
Trent is
Women, there are far
disgusted.
more deadbeat moms than deadbeat dads.
do you think you simp
No,
for men?
there's not.
No.
So you don't call it simping for
couldn't
men
say
and
it
saying
simple.
that that if a woman does something bad, she should have to pay consequences for it. But if a man,
if a
no,
woman-
I'm going to finish. If a
Okay.
man abandons his family because he wants to screw some other
Mm-hmm.
lady and puts them into poverty, you're saying he shouldn't have to spend a dime on that.
Yeah,
Why?
equality, baby, because women abandon their families all the time and they're not punished, they're rewarded. So I say equal rights, equal lefts. You guys fought for equality, here it is.
Then isn't the answer, shouldn't the answer be both, that instead of saying both men and women should be allowed to be awful people, shouldn't we say men and women should both be held to higher standards?
I would say, I don't, it depends
That's a
what you
good way
mean
to
by
put it.
higher standards, but what I would say is I don't think we should have child support. I don't think we should have alimony. I think it's wrong.
So
I don't
even if a
think,
One
man
of those things
aban-
are
he
wrong
doesn't-
in nature. Neither one of those things, and they make sense for why they exist. What are we talking about, bro?
leaves his wife has been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years,
Right.
3 kids.
Stay-at-home mom.
She has been out of the workplace,
Out of
gonna have a
workplace,
difficult time
so she
finding
can't
a
just hop
job.
back in
And
and
I
find a
know
good-paying
personal
job.
women that this has happened to, and he leaves and goes has sex with someone else. We're not talking about other women being bad. You're saying in that case, The man shouldn't be compelled to provide for the family he abandoned.
Well, I would say for the same case that if women cheat and leave for another husband, they shouldn't have alimony or child support either. I'm saying in both cases we should not have alimony.
Let me
and
ask you another
child
question.
support.
Let's say you have.
Let
me ask you this.
I don't believe in paying people to make wrong decisions. I don't believe in that.
They're not.
Right,
But
so
she's
if a
acting
woman-
like they just get like some type of settlement for getting a bad deal and then getting excommunicado. No, the money is for the child. The money is for the fact that, or the child support is for the child. The alimony is for the fact that she foregone working for X amount of time, and then she gets compensated for all the time she's lost from working and having to potentially raise kids or just maintain a fucking lifestyle. Because if she hasn't been working for X amount of years and then has to go back into the field, it's not going to be as easy, and she's got to take a dramatic dip in lifestyle, which isn't fair because she did that because of the husband. Or vice versa, if the man is the one that don't make the most money. Talk to Mary J. Blige, shorty.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you have a stay-at-home dad, successful woman, has been out, she's boss girl.
Can she be a lawyer?
Sure, she's the boss girl lawyer, turns into the She-Hulk when she needs to, whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
all right.
And she's been making a lot of money, and then she leaves her husband and kids, says, "Hey, Frank, you can have the kids. I'm going to run off with this other lawyer at the office." And now he and the kids are in poverty. Do you think that she should have to pay child support to them?
Nope. I think he should get a job.
Okay.
And so should she.
So you don't believe?
Yeah, she knows.
Do you believe in marriage at all?
I believe
It's that type of hypocrisy.
what kind of marriage? That's the. I don't believe in marriage as it is today.
What?
If we tomorrow got rid of child support, got rid of alimony, got rid of all these incentives for bad decisions, fine.
Pearl,
Then I would have no problem. But my issue is, one, the quality of women is lower than ever before.
Pearl,
the risk is higher, and women are paid to
Pearl,
leave.
what is marriage?
She don't
One
know.
person for a lifetime, and the woman submits to her husband and is an obedient for a lifetime.
She gotta make
But
that clear.
I am not.
She has to.
Well, and see, I guess my head goes in a couple directions, because the other thing is, today
She
it's
gotta make
nothing.
that point.
Today, you said the average marriage is longer than 7 years. Let's say it's 12 years.
The median length is 21 years.
The average, let's say 21. That's still not a lifetime. And a quarter of divorces are gray divorces. So it happens when people are in their 50s and 60s. So that's the other thing about these stats. It doesn't predict who in the future gets divorced. It
It's
says
true.
today. So it doesn't include people that are separated. I know couples in their 50s and 60s. They've been separated for years. They're still counted as married. So.
we have
My issue again is marriage as it is today, and I just think you would never sign a contract that pays somebody to leave. I think it's super logical.
But
If someone's
that's not
paid
how
to do the wrong thing,
that's not
they're going to
what
do it. And what are
happens.
women doing?
And all you're saying is that women are bad people because they're paid to leave. They're just automatically going to get divorced when the fuck they feel like it. Is it like they go into it with this thought process of like, I'm gonna fuck this man over, and I don't believe that. And if you do, that's fucked up on your part.
They're leaving. I'm so shocked.
If marriage is a lifelong union, and let's say a woman does what you say she should do, right?
I don't say women should do anything.
Well, you say women should be obedient to their husbands, right?
If the
Some
woman
of they
gets
shouldn't do
married, but
anything.
If
some
a woman
women,
gets married,
some women should be
she stay
alone.
home and raise the kids, Pearl? If she
Well, it depends, and I can't give you a straight answer. Like I can't give you a straight answer. It depends. What does he want?
Let's say he wants her to
That's-
stay home and raise kids.
Fine, then yeah, sure.
And you think that that's a reasonable thing. So
The
if a
majority of women aren't,
if a
though.
woman
That's not the majority.
and
that's the thing that.
No,
like,
let me finish.
go
So if a
ahead.
woman does that, then she takes a significant amount of risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, she makes herself. Does she take risk
Girl,
in
nervous as
choosing to
fuck.
become financially dependent on one person?
Yes, she does, but women aren't choosing that. That's a funny thing. Women are having 1 to 2 children. They're in public school. So let's not act like these women are home housewifing it up.
Okay.
These kids
What-
are in public school for 8 hours a day.
You're right. Men are men and women. They aren't choosing marriage. Both of them aren't.
True. But didn't you say men are in control of marriage? That's what you said earlier.
Yeah. So really,
So
it's
then-
more
so
they're
then-
not choosing to do it. Right.
Exactly. And women aren't choosing because women are not wives today.
Okay.
Well, it's okay, man.
I'm gonna go.
Man up and marry these whores.
You got 1 minute left.
Okay. Do you think that men are marriageable
She a trip, bro.
who've looked at pornography?
Yeah.
How about men who have helped
Talking about,
run the
so-
camera at OnlyFans?
So he marriageable for looking at porn, but you just act like porn is. Okay. To be fair, looking at porn and participating in porn is two different things. But with Pearl, she wouldn't. I bet you she would say if a woman looked at porn, she shouldn't be married. No, let him say like if a woman looks at porn casually, not in an unhealthy way, but just watches it just when she feels like it, is she marriageable? I bet you she would say no. I hope he asks that.
What percent of men do that, Trent?
No, I'm asking you the
This
question.
is like, come on.
I'm asking you a question.
Who have run the camera? Personally, not for me. Like run the camera at OnlyFans.
All right,
not
we
for
only
me.
have a few seconds left, so I'm just going to take it back to the main thing, the final main question.
Okay.
Okay. Do just a yes or no. Do the majority, 80% of men who are married, say they are happy?
Take sips so I can think of some bullshit to say.
Yes or no?
They say it, but we don't know if they're telling the truth.
So if they say they happy, they're not telling the truth. But everything else you read and when people say through self-reports, that's a lie. Like I mean, that's we don't know if they're telling the truth. No, this ain't live. This is pre-recorded, bro. Oh my God.
All right, we are going to go into a time of Q&A in which we'll take questions from our local supporters and from super chatters. What do y'all think?
Man. I don't know if I want
since
to
we have
watch
so
the
many
Q&A.
questions, would 2
I don't know
minutes
if I wanna watch that.
each be a good idea? Just so, and
I
it
don't
can
know
be
if I
less
wanna
than that, but it might be a good idea just to keep it to that.
I'm gonna see if
Okay, so here's my
thanks,
first
any more
question, and I'll ask you first,
thought you said
Pearl, and then
in the middle,
Trent.
it's right next to
And you can take up to 2 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. Do your best job summarizing his position in a way that sounds convincing. Like, I want to see that you've understood
Let's see the
his
steel
position,
man.
and
Let's
then I'm
see
going
if
to
she
give
can
you
do
a
that.
chance to articulate
I wanna
her
hear
position
this.
to see if
Can
you've
she steel
understood
man
hers.
his
You
archery?
go first.
Trent believes that men should just man up and marry these whores.
That was a great.
So she clearly doesn't even understand what the fuck a steel man is, bro. She still just said what she thinks he's saying, not what he's saying in the best faith summary.
Steel man.
I
Paul,
don't know if is that how he'd say it?
No, I mean, he
that's
said
not
that
how
they
he would
shouldn't
fucking say
disqualify women for having STDs. They shouldn't disqualify
I'm
women
not
for
asking you
having
to argue
abortions.
against him. I'm asking you, can you understand his position and say it? Because it seems to me that if I can't articulate my opponent's
frustrated.
position, that's a good sign that I haven't understood it.
Did you
So I'm
just
trying to
jump,
see,
bro?
do you
No,
understand what's his
I
position?
understand his position
Or did you leave and
perfectly.
come
He
back?
believes there are a bunch of studies that say that men are happier in marriage and marriage makes men happier and better people.
Okay. How do you feel about that? Is that
and,
shit on the track?
men should not disqualify for abortions, STDs, and being a whore.
Okay, so do you want to respond to, is that a good summary or?
No, of course it's not a good summary.
Well, why don't
Obviously
you
not.
sum
What
up
the
her
fuck?
position as best as you can then?
Sure. Pearl thinks marriage is a bad deal because sometimes women gain 15 pounds in the 70 years that they're married, and guys should be able to run for the hills because that's the
So
worst
now
thing
he
in the
did
world.
it. I wish he would have actually did a good faith summary of hers just to make her look like a dick. But he basically just did what she did, but it don't make him look no better than her.
Is that basically it?
No.
Okay.
See,
All right,
like
Trent,
he should have
question
made her
here
look
from
stupid by
Catholic-
actually giving a good faith response into what she's saying.
Viking from over on Locals. And Thursday, you want to throw up some super chats on the screen here? I love when he calls me boss man. I feel so important. Catholic Viking, so we'll start
ass.
with Trent. Trent, is there a point in debating marriage outside the Catholic sacrament? And if so, how do you accomplish that when it can mean whatever that person
Let me see
defines it
something.
as? Feels
'Cause
like what is a
I had
woman type
changed
of
some of the
question, and we need to define marriage as
settings.
the sacrament. You go first, and then you'll have 2 minutes as well.
that's
Go
how
ahead.
it is.
So marriage is something that God gave the human race. It was created with Adam and Eve, our first parents. So marriage is not a uniquely Catholic thing. That's why when the government tries to change marriage to make so-called same-sex marriage, that's wrong because the government can't change what marriage is any more than it can change what friendship or justice is. Marriage is a natural institution. Nearly every society on earth has discovered it for the good of men and women and the children that proceed from their unions. So marriage is a natural institution. The Catholic Church recognizes that if someone in Pacific Islands or in another country, if they enter into a monogamous, ideally lifelong, sexually exclusive union,
All right. So we're gonna call it. Yeah. If y'all want to see the Q&A, this is Pints with Aquinas. In studio debate, is marriage a bad deal for men? Pearl Davis versus Trent Horn. I'm not gonna go through the Q&A. This was a long one. This was a doozy. So my battery is out of there, bro. Because Pearl's level of idiocracy is just unfathomable at this point. I don't even know how the fuck she puts her clothes on every morning. Like, she's a human being that like does things on her own. That's my assumption. I don't know what happens behind closed doors. But this is an adult person that's actively breathing the same air as y'all and has a 2 million subscriber YouTube channel. I can't make those things make sense, but it is what it is. And I'm just here to laugh at motherfuckers like her and people that support her because it's honestly pathetic as fuck. But it makes for good content and good laughs and good times.